Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and as usual, I'm here with
Chillmonger.
And I think we got a guest of some sort here. Oh my God, it's Blerd without fear. What's up?
Hey, what's going on? I'm here.
We have to get both YouTubers with a Who is Ironheart video.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God, yes.
All right.
I mean, hey, Riri needs love too. Okay, she needs.
Is there
love.
nobody else with a Who is Ironheart?
There's probably someone with an Ironheart video, but we titled ours "Who is Ironheart?"
Yeah, who is? Who is?
Huh.
And we were probably a lot nicer about ours.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I know the hate out there. I was thinking about making one. I just never got around to it. Just like now I'm thinking I got to start getting around to those things.
Hey,
but no, going back to making those Who is so and so, because yeah. So shoot, thanks for showing up there, Ernie. What's up?
Oh man, happy to be here. Happy to be. Thanks for inviting me in.
We really don't have a whole lot left to talk about because we were just talking for about 4.5 hours before we started. And we're just like, we're supposed to do a podcast, aren't we? Did anybody push live?
I didn't notice.
Right.
I didn't notice the the time, so it was kind of like I was like, oh wow, like we have been talking for 4 hours. And I looked at my phone, I was like, oh wow. But this is the time I would still be awake anyway, so what difference does it make?
Perfect. Are you you're in Memphis? Are you in the Eastern Standard Time?
We're in Central.
Okay, so
we're in Central Standard.
It's only 3 o'clock in the morning for you. It's 4 o'clock in the morning for me and Chillmonger.
Oh, bless your hearts.
Oh, like it's such a difference for you. Like it's one lousy hour, but like, oh my God, it is late.
Oh no, it makes me feel no less bad. Some of my other contemporaries are on the East Coast, so they're on that Eastern Standard Time, and I always feel bad because like whenever like it's like, oh hey, we want to do something at so and so time, and I'm always like, oh man, it's gonna be late for you. That's gotta suck.
And the people in California, when you're trying to talk to them, and it's like it's only 6 o'clock in the evening for them. It's like, I'm gonna leave. It's getting kind of late. It's like, I hate you. Your sun doesn't even go down for 6 more hours. Die in a fire.
Right?
Like,
God, dude, it upsets me because like I got a taste of the West Coast life, and I was like, man, it's 10 o'clock. The sun is still up. What is this? What sorcery is this? I say.
Exactly. What dark magic is this?
I mean, hey, just like that is why I think was once upon a time they just wanted to saw California off into the ocean. Like, nope, we can't have it like this. Can't have it. They have it too good. The weather's always good. Doesn't snow.
Yeah, it's like Malaga, Spain. Like just 320 days of sun. Yes, and that's why we hate you. They're always walking around happy and like mentally prepared for the world, and you just want to beat the living crap out of them.
I'd like to disassociate myself from statements that were said previously.
Oh man! Meanwhile, Chillmonger and I are up in Toronto, where it snows all the time, thick as like to our thighs. Talking about, yeah, I think I'm a little depressed right now.
Yeah, see, we get snow in Memphis once a year, if that.
Can you even call it snow?
It's not even really. Well, what happens is it's ice. It's literally ice. That's it. But because it is ice, and even though sometimes we do get snow, because of our city is just not prepared for that sort of thing because it doesn't happen very often. So when it does happen, it melts, then becomes ice. And then it becomes the hazard. Like when the day it snows is always like the best day. The worst days are the days after that.
Yeah, I hear you. Meanwhile, up here, like it could be up to your thighs, and it's like, dude, it's not even a school day. The kids are expected to be at school. I'm not joking.
He's like, you still got to go, right?
Yeah. And I remember like being in Jersey and we would see it start to snow outside, but like, oh, we're going to get a half a day. We're going to get a half a day. And we were right. It's like now. But and then I also remember living in Florida where it's like people would ask me, so crushed ice, is that what snow is like? I'm like, you poor deprived child.
It's like, oh
Man.
bless your heart.
So aren't we here to talk about comics? I don't know. Like there's the three of us together. We've just got nothing but endless things to discuss between wrestling and just food, life. Holy crap.
Oh God. Literally all of it. It could literally be anything at this point.
Like 4.5 hours is just like, I am shocked. And you and I have never spoken with each other before.
No.
Or something. So this was wild, man.
Well, I was like, yeah, I was like, man, I feel like we've done this before.
Right?
Actually, I had to think about it for a sec. I was like, I feel like we've spoken. No, we haven't.
No, we've never talked before.
It's like, well, that just happened. I'm okay with it though. I'm here for it. I'm here.
Oh, and Chillmonger over here is like the third woman. He's like the third wheel.
Just chaperoning.
Chaperone, sure.
You gotta make sure we're not getting out of pocket.
Anyway, okay, so hey, did you guys hear that Sandman is coming back with Neil Gaiman doing it, and it's going to be a Netflix television series?
Ooh.
Oh,
nobody heard that?
This is the first I'm hearing of this.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, Netflix actually got the license a couple days ago. I forget when I actually wrote this down. Filming is going to begin in May, but Neil Gaiman is going to be doing some of the writing for it. Also, what is it? Alan Heinberg is going to be the showrunner. He did a bunch of work on the Wonder Woman movie. He did work on Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, The Catch, stuff like that, which sounds weird, but I guess that fits. The pilot was co-written by Heinberg, Gaiman, and David S. Goyer.
Ooh.
Yes. Big deal right there with Goyer being attached to that.
What did Goyer do? Who's Goyer?
Dude, Blade 2.
Yeah.
A lot of really good horror movies and stuff like that. Like this dude is known. He's known in the community.
I typically don't trust him with superhero stuff as much, but he actually isn't a bad writer for other things. So like I feel like Sandman would be more in his wheelhouse.
100%, yes.
Yeah. Sandman's definitely in his wheelhouse.
So we've got that lovey-dovey stuff covered by Heinberg, and we've got and he's going to be the showrunner anyway. And we've got Gaiman doing the work, which he's the father of this version of Sandman.
Good.
And then with Goyer on this also adding the horror element, I think that we're pretty much well set for exactly who this character is.
It's going to be like if Watchmen had Alan Moore in charge of it.
Possibly. This is going to be the most expensive TV series from DC Entertainment. And there's going to be 11 episodes, but there's no premiere date. Again, the filming begins in May.
Oh, wow. And they're actually going to let this go to Netflix? They're not going to try and put this on DC Universe or HBO Max or anything like that?
Well, you've seen the way that they actually do things lately. It's like with Stargirl and with Teen Titans and whatnot. It's like Teen Titans automatically goes to, once the season is finished, it goes immediately to Netflix. What do you call it? What the heck are they called? The Doom Patrol didn't go to Netflix. Instead, that was just to DVD. But then they're also doing like with Watchmen, it's like, oh, we'll make it appear on HBO first, but then immediately the next day it'll go over here. And then on the WB will be Stargirl, but then it'll immediately go back to the DC streaming universe. It's like they're really trying to stretch their fingers out.
It is really weird because I distinctly remember Stargirl being announced as a DC Universe TV show.
Yes. You're right.
And then was it when Crisis on Infinite Earths was coming out? They were like, "Oh, new show coming to CW," and I was like, "Excuse me."
That's right. That's exactly what they wound up doing.
Craziness.
They're trying to get. I don't even know if at this point if they're actually trying to get more people to come to the DC streaming universe, but it is the way that, like, everything is eventually ending up there, even if it's not on the first day. So it's like, oh. this, if you like this, look at all this other stuff that's here. Oh, do you also subscribe to this channel? Oh, well, then you get to come over here and get this also. What about these things that you're not subscribed to? You know, everything's at the DC Universe anyway, plus all of our comic books. So it's not a bad marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to shop it around first and everything will return here, but let's just see if we can make money with it. So then when it does go to Netflix or whenever a property does go elsewhere, it's a sign of approval. But if it's going straight to the DC universe, it's like, okay, well, I guess it's not good in these studios.
It's going there to die.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's exactly what it would be. Because if you think about the WWE network, people talk about how, oh, you could just move Monday Night Raw there. But if you did that, and that's where the reruns, that's where it eventually goes to streaming immediately afterwards. But at first, it's more of, let's actually put it on Fox or wherever it's going to go, you know, Spike TV or the Nashville Network, remember, was on there.
Oh, yeah, TNN.
Exactly. But then they'll immediately throw it over to the streaming service, because that's where they want people to eventually go. But if it only shows in the streaming service, and that includes with DC, most people are never going to see it. It's like, hey, we've got Swamp Thing. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be any good. Can I get a sample? No. Well, but if they put these shows on other channels, and a lot of other channels, they actually have a chance of getting people to come over and see all the good stuff that they have.
That's how you grow your audience.
Yep.
Oh yeah, I mean that's audience growth 101. I mean, hell, actually, I don't know. Try and get in front of as many eyes as possible. I mean, hell, I'm actually kind of surprised. HBO Max, I'm surprised they even keep the DC Universe app at that point.
Yeah. We've also got another TV series coming out soon by Sony. It's going to be Doc Savage. You guys familiar with this character?
No.
I'm not like not well read on Doc Savage, but I am aware of who Doc Savage is.
Yeah, and
his importance.
Yeah, I'm a little more on tune with who this character is. I have read some of his comic books before, but for the most part, not really. He's basically this guy he's called the Man of Bronze, but like his skin isn't actually bronze. I think that there were actually some comic books where they showed him as being bulletproof or something like that, but it's just he's got bronze skin. He's basically Mr. Terrific. He's a really awesome athlete. He's really super duper smart. He's a super sleuth, and yeah, sure. They were originally going to do a movie in 2016. This was supposed to release with Dwayne The Rock Johnson actually playing the character and Shane Black doing the series also. And then that wound up going bust. So now they're going to try and shop it to a TV series with Sony backing it. So
okay, maybe. I mean, I don't. Honestly, I know some people will probably poo-poo on this, but I think it's just good for once. Yeah, hey, focus on things that aren't Batman or Superman or or anything else. DC has like a wealth of great and interesting characters that they could mine for all sorts of media properties and things like that. I mean, yeah, go ahead, go for it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen is that a bunch of people now know the name, Doc Savage becomes a household name for the first time in ever. I mean, that's the worst that can happen. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, he was originally I went and looked onto this. He was originally a pulp hero from the books way back in the magazine pulp mags out there. For the most part, yeah, he was kind of popular, but it wasn't like anything super special. Nobody freaked out and went crazy about it. But yeah, there's not a whole lot out there because for the most part, nobody really cares.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do we have here? There's just a release of why Ben Affleck actually left the Batman movie.
The worst kept secret. We all knew it.
Well,
all the pictures of Jennifer Garner driving him over to rehab. We knew why.
There's the speculation, but when you actually get the confirmation, it's a good thing. So
yeah, I'm glad he did. I'm glad he walked away from it for his personal health.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that personally would have been a great vision to actually see his version. I was really amped to see that, especially after he always got all that flack from the Batfleck thing, and it's like, oh god, he's gonna look stupid. It's gonna be dumb. He can't do it, and it's like, oh my god, this was amazing. His interpretation was amazing.
And it actually sounded like the version of Batman he just based on the little bit we know, it sounded like his vision for Batman when he was writing the script for it. It sounded so much like a Batman movie I wanted to see. Like it sounded like we would actually have the family. We would have multiple villains, multiple characters. It wouldn't just be about Batman. It actually, I don't know. It gave me hope. It gave me hope.
I like when the actors are involved in the script. It's usually for the better.
Yeah. Plus, he's got his friend Kevin Smith that he could have drawn from, who actually wrote the character forever. So, there's that. I wouldn't say forever, but he did have a run.
Yes. Well, and I would dare say if you were going to have anybody in your corner, for something like that, I mean, a guy who named his daughter Harley Quinn probably would not be the worst person to ask questions.
You're not wrong on that. I forgot about that. Nice one. Nice one. Yeah, I remember when he revealed that, and they actually had him in on the Comic Book Man episode. I'm like, wait, what now? But yeah. So the idea of So for anybody who is wondering, though, basically he showed the script to somebody. He didn't say who, but to somebody. And the person said, oh, this actually looks really good. I also think you're going to drink yourself to death in the process of making this. And he's like, oh. So he decided to go to rehab. So, yeah, I feel bad for the guy. I feel bad for anybody who's got any kind of substance abuse problem and addiction. It's genuinely a terrible thing. And the idea that he was willing to go and get this done and leave what was probably a seriously lucrative project for him that could have put him over the top and branded him, that's a real shame, especially in light that his best friend growing up for the most part, Ben Affleck, I'm talking about Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, like this guy, he just keeps on getting all these amazing things and whatnot. And, yeah, he's just somehow he's not on that level anymore. Yeah,
I mean, he has. I think I think my whole big thing with Ben Affleck was that when they made the announcement that he was going to be Batman, people poo-pooed on him. They brought up all his past movies, Reindeer Game, Geely.
Don't do Geely.
Oh yeah, Paycheck. Like he did have he had a string of I think 4 or 5 movies around that time frame that just were either box office bombs or just were not good. And though I still contest that Phantoms was great, but at least he was great in it. But anyways, point of the matter is that I just kind of felt like, wow, man, these guys are y'all are raking this guy over. And of course we can't forget Daredevil. This guy,
shut up. I like Daredevil.
Hey,
especially the director's cut. That was a good movie.
Hey,
all right.
I own the director's cut.
Nice.
And I am not ashamed at all to admit that. And I watch it quite regularly.
All right.
Nice.
But the thing is, I think people
with Coolio in it.
Yes. Who is literally only in it for maybe a few minutes. But I felt like I was like, give this guy a chance. And he finally got his day in court, so to speak.
Yeah.
I thought that he did the very best he could do with the material he was given. And he gave me what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I think that people walked into BVS hating him as Batman.
Yeah.
And they walked out of it claiming he was the greatest thing in the movie.
And people genuinely walking around town talking about, do you bleed?
Yeah, that was a thing.
That was a great moment.
That was a thing.
He pulled it off.
I disagree with the casting just because of his age. If you're going to do a universe, come on, it was like 2014, right? When they casted him. Where's your foresight? Where are we going to be in 6 years? Well, it turns out Robert Pattinson.
Yeah. Well, that's also why, like, because I do like fan castings and stuff a lot of times, and people always bring up actors who are well past the age of the sell by date for roles like the ones that I talk about, and they're always like, "Oh, why'd you pick someone?" So it's like, because they couldn't. It's not to say they couldn't carry a franchise, but any studio that's smart, they're gonna want an actor or actress who is going to be able to do multiple movies throughout the course of so many years. Like, you don't get someone who's in their 60s, to play a character that you want to have on a franchise that's going to last 10, 15 years. It just doesn't.
Unless it's Nick Fury.
Yeah, case in point. Like, but yeah, outside of that, that's like on the rare exception. But you wouldn't get a 60-year-old guy to play Captain America.
I'm going to make 2 points of contention, and the 60-year-old Captain America is almost like a low blow because he is not. Ben Affleck is not 60.
Well, no. Not saying that.
But here, 2 points of contention. One, a quick one.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Robert Pattinson could come in and play Batman if Ben Affleck didn't come in? If Michael Keaton and Christian Bale were the last two people who played?
I think he'd have a bigger. I think he'd have he'd have more of an uphill battle.
Yeah, and it's uphill now.
How much more uphill can it get? The Ben Affleck rejection was very big. So
I mean, I think it might have been worse, but honestly, I feel like we would have ultimately. I mean, well, we don't know yet because we haven't seen him in action. But I feel like if it turned out like he's actually good, I feel like people would get over it.
Yeah,
but I think the backlash would be heavier on him at first, just because of the Twilight stuff, which it already is. It's already bad.
But what about Cedric Diggory from the Harry Potter?
Look, I say it all the time. He didn't take an L in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire to be remembered as just Edward.
True. But like basically, if it was somebody else, if it was somebody that we could, I don't know, see, I'm making air quotes now, doing the role of Batman, if instead of Ben Affleck, I think that Pattinson would have gotten a huge attack. I think a lot of it was, Batfleck, we didn't think that was going to work, and it turns out that was amazing, right? So maybe let's give Pattinson a chance. But that's literally the smallest. Oh, go ahead, Shelmar.
But how do we explain now that, because this is a universe, right? He interacted with Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Harley Quinn.
No, this is not a universe. This is not.
That was my question. All right, so it's not considered.
I think Matt. I could have sworn I heard Matt Reeves say at some point, like, okay, the Batman has been rumored to not be in the DCEU, and it is in the DCEU. I don't even think Warner Brothers knows what this movie is.
They don't. And like two, the DCEU that's done. There is no DCEU right now.
But I watched Shazam and Superman happened to be in it.
Yeah, but that was before they said that it was over.
Okay.
And it wasn't Henry Cavill.
Nah, it was a stand-in.
Yeah.
But Suicide Squad was referenced in the Birds of Prey movie. You didn't watch that. But she only talks about Joker as if it's the Jared Leto version that happened to be in Suicide Squad, where Batman made a cameo appearances.
But because it's her who was the previous actor also. So
well, remember, we still have the Suicide Squad that's coming out, and from what I understand,
complete reboot.
Yeah, it's a reboot, but it still has actors who were in, because Jai Courtney is back as Captain Boomerang. They brought back Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. But the thing is, it's a reboot. It's like, DC is, and this isn't really so much DC so much as it's just Warner Brothers. I feel like they're very schizophrenic about their whatever it is they have. But just make movies. Don't try and have a cinematic universe. Just make movies.
Yeah, please.
Wonder Woman's good because they're making theirs in the 80s. So whatever universe you guys are doing in the present, this still matters.
But she said that she wasn't a hero in between that time then and now.
Did she?
If you watch in the very beginning of the original Wonder Woman movie, It's like,
Mhm.
I haven't done this in forever because I pretty much lost faith in mankind and blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
I mean,
saying
let's be fair. They also kind of pretend that parts of Justice League didn't happen in Aquaman yet.
yeah,
I don't know. I just really want DC to get it together. That like
be nice.
if it was if I could just have one wish in this world that if I could just have it, I would just like for DC to have nice things.
Right. Let's give them a leader. Who's their Feige? Who's their major producer in charge of everything?
It
No,
was Jeff
nothing.
Johns at one
Yeah.
point.
And
And
they
he
got
was
rid of
more.
him?
no, he's still there, but he took a step back. He's
Yeah.
only on Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Huh.
Or I'm sorry, the Green Lantern Corps.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. The second point of contention would be that in some regards, this is supposed to be. Matt Reeves just posted an image from the Batman Year One book, which could explain how this would still work, because we're going back to Year One, hence the younger Robert Pattinson. But two, the idea that you had an older Batman, you can now tell these stories of a grizzled Batman who's very well informed, who's down, who's got all the stuff, and then you can always go back and tell the prequel story because it's what Star Wars did.
Well,
Good. So that means it's not over for
yeah.
Ben Affleck. We can get his stuff together.
Yeah.
I mean this positively. If he
Yeah,
could
yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
rehabilitate,
Correct, yes.
then I would accept him as Batman back in the Justice League movies. I'd be happy with that.
Mhm.
Actually, I would piggyback on what you were saying, Chill. Yeah, because we were talking about Wonder Woman. Yeah, how those movies take place in the past.
Yep.
Maybe that's the model right now. Maybe instead of building going forward for right now, maybe we just stay in the past.
Mhm.
Yeah, with some of the characters that were already established, like let's just give me a trilogy. I mean, I'm not, please don't make a trilogy, just make a good movie and then go from there. But maybe give us a good Batman movie. If that works out, you can make another one and tell more. I think, because this is supposed to be year like what 1 or 2 of Batman being Batman by this point. So yeah, I want to see that. I want to see maybe capitalize on some of the things, the missed opportunities that that the Bale trilogy had in regards to the beginning of Batman. Maybe show me more of that beginning, and I would be fine with that. No Tumblr, though. I don't need any Tumblrs.
Well, with Green Lantern, I'm sure most of that will happen in space, and it won't contradict any of their continuity.
Yeah.
Aquaman's going to be busy underwater, you would think. So they could ride this out, and maybe when Ben Affleck gets his stuff together, he'll be that person who unites the Justice League. They can figure things out with Henry Cavill, too.
And let Shazam also kind of be what he already is. Let him kind of be in and around, moving and weaving in between everybody, but also doing his own thing. I don't need a cinematic universe.
Honestly, maybe at some point we'll wind up getting Justice League versus Suicide Squad because you know what? Why the hell not? But they should be making their individual movies first and then try to build up instead of just all of a sudden, oh, look, we're doing what Marvel's doing too. Please stop, DC. Please stop. You've been the industry leader forever. You should just stop and start.
Was it my favorite quote of Morpheus in The Matrix? Stop trying to hit me and hit me.
Good one. You think that's air you're breathing?
That's what DC and Warner Brothers need to do. They need to stop trying to hit Marvel and just hit them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it should be a competition, but I mean they should just do what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not gonna. You definitely. Well, you could have a competition, but you're never gonna have a competition if it's a freaking lookalike contest. You know.
I mean, take Suicide Squad. Take
Or
Guardians
not.
of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
And one is a movie that has a great soundtrack. It's got interesting characters. There's a beginning, a middle, and end. The other movie is Suicide Squad.
Yeah. I was like,
yeah.
I'm gonna see if he's gonna say that, because I'm gonna say it if he doesn't.
Yeah. Because Suicide Squad does the same thing. It even has some of the same songs from Guardians of the Galaxy's Volume 1 soundtrack. So it's like
they do, don't they?
Yeah, and literally they all use songs that were in public domain by now. So
you know what the perfect trick is when the credits are rolling? It's to play "I Want You Back" right after. No one leaves that auditorium unhappy.
No, nobody does. That was done on purpose.
As
Everyone's
soon
in
as
a good
hear,
mood.
boom, doom, doo, doo, doom, doom, doo, 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 doom, 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 doom. You get
Dude,
Baby
my
Groot.
mother was singing. She was singing the whole song to the top of her lungs in the theater. That's how good it is.
Okay. This is obviously a personal joke between you two.
No,
the Jackson 5, "I Want You Back" is that. That's.
It's kind of like to me. It's like one of those songs. Like, it's impossible for me to be like mad. Like, I'm not gonna be mad if I hear that song. I'm like, oh wow, actually,
it's your K-pop, huh?
Yeah, that is. That's like, like K-pop.
That's a personal joke between
that
the
is
two of us.
that is a personal one. I when I read my YouTube comments, I listen to K-pop because it's impossible for me to be angry when I'm listening to K-pop.
Huh? Go figure.
I'm always in a good mood. You can say whatever you want to me. I'll probably not get angry.
All right. I'll keep that in mind. So, She-Hulk, and yes, it's called She-Hulk, not Hulk. Go figure.
Oh yeah, I remember what you were saying about in your Avengers review.
That's right.
And Captain Marvel.
Actually, just between you and me too. Like, I had to do a personal joke with you and me. I'm taking you back, man. I'm stealing you back from Ernie. It's like, y'all can't be having your freaking private moments. So anyway, it's called She-Hulk because nobody's going to know what they're called. It's called Hulk. Oh, Banner's going to be in it. So apparently, William Hurt is going to be in there, reprising his role as Thaddeus Ross and being the Red Hulk. That is crazy.
I mean, I'm here for it. I feel like it's something that should have happened by now. You know, to some extent, I feel like they should use him. He's a good actor. He's good Thunderbolt Ross. I like him.
Yeah.
And he helps make two.
Should have shown up already? You think Red Hulk should have shown up already?
I feel like he's already been teased in a way, like just in throwaway dialogue. Like earlier, somebody in Civil War. He talks about, he kind of explains why he hadn't been around. He talks about, I was on the golf course, getting ready to swing. He talks about the heart attack he has, and I'm like, I wonder if that was just kind of their way of letting you know maybe something has happened, or maybe it's just the Russos being the Russos. But
he does have that machine still. What from the
yes,
the Hulk movie? He's got that machine that he made that.
The Abomination.
Yeah, the Abomination. Yeah, I'm trying to remember the actor's name. He was in Lie to Me.
It is.
That guy.
That guy.
There's that guy.
Why it's actually killing me because he's actually one of my favorite actors, and I'm completely blanking on his name.
Oh my god! Well, freaking look him up. You gotta.
I'm looking at. I keep wanting to call him Mr. Orange, but that's just not going to work for anybody.
Nice.
William Hurt is the only actor from the 2008 movie. He helps legitimize that one and makes me want to watch that one in my watch through when I go through my MCU 23 films. And that's right, I said 23 films because I don't count Venom because it's not part of the same universe.
Tim Roth.
There you go. Thank you. There.
I knew it was Roth, and I kept wanting to say Eli Roth, but that's a director.
Oh, yeah, that would have been different.
Not quite the same guy.
You see the trailers for Black Widow where she has that red vial?
Yes.
Now people are saying it could be Pym particles. Hearing this, maybe it's that red gamma. It could be so much.
Well, and he does. William Hurt. He does pop up in that trailer. A de-aged version of him, no less.
Yeah.
But it is him. I mean, look, I don't like to be that guy that's like, I don't want to have the tinfoil hat on.
No, put that on. That's the fun part. That's what makes Marvel Marvel, and why we can't do this for DC because they don't really
They
work
don't
it that way.
But I
These
mean,
crazy
no,
speculations.
the toys have kind of given away, and I think that maybe there is something to that.
That is the thing. They
Yeah.
are actually. It was just released recently. Yesterday, they announced that there's going to be a Red Hulk standalone figure coming out. So they just released that there's going to be they just did the I think I've got him up here. The Ant-Man. You guys can't see him. So let me bring him down. This was originally a Build-A-Figure piece, and it's still the exact same Build-A-Figure piece.
So you got Giant Man Build-A-Figure.
Yeah, so there's actually there was the Giant Man Build-A-Figure, and here's like regular here. I'll take like my Reed Richards over here, and this is the size of him. He's pretty big.
Yeah, that's a nice size. Wow.
Yeah,
he's a pretty big guy. You guys go and check out. I'll put up the tasty taste of whatever. And I'll throw up that Hasbro and Marvel have actually they've changed their thing. Instead of doing like, oh, here's a 1-year contract, here's another 1-year contract, they've changed their contract name to a multi-year contract now. One of the main reasons is because they're doing a lot with Marvel right now. They're also doing, Hasbro is one of the main lines that's actually releasing the Transformers toys. They're releasing a whole bunch of new toys. In fact, they also just announced that they're going to be releasing, and this is also for IDW comic books with the Transformers, they're going to be doing a G.I. Joe line of 6-inch figures. So they're going to be doing a whole bunch. The Snake Eyes looks great. Everything else looks kind of silly to me. I'm just saying they look kind of weird to me. Like, they look way too cartoonish in my opinion. But Snake Eyes, I don't think you could do a wrong Snake Eyes if you tried.
I mean, I think if you're going to get any of them right,
that would be the one to get.
At least be Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
At
100%.
least.
Yep. Comes with accessories. He comes with like a bunch of different weapons. He comes with an Uzi. He does not come with timber. That kind of bothers me a little bit. But it is what it is. Timber is the Timber Wolf for anybody who's not an old school G.I. Joe fan. Anyway, so
look, we don't want to show too much age.
I don't have any problem with that. Because knowing is, you know why? Because knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
And there we go. We just dated ourselves.
we got to be careful. We don't want to trademark.
So with the She-Hulk Disney Plus streaming service TV show,
web series.
Web series. I don't know about that now. The principal photography begins in July. So we're not even close to anything being done. Like when you're talking about, the principal photography, it's like, are you freaking kidding me right now? So we're not getting this anytime soon.
No, you're not going to get that show till like sometime next year. If even then. But I don't know. They can turn these around pretty quick. Because Falcon and Winter Soldier, they wrap that bad boy and they've already got it ready to roll by August.
At the same time, look at the people who are involved in that.
Oh yeah,
like you brought back Strucker, you brought back Bucky, you brought back, like these are some famous guys who we loved as secondary characters. Here's my air quotes again, secondary characters in these major movies, and you got some of the same people working on them. So of course, but like, do we even know who's going to be She-Hulk?
Oh yeah, we have no idea yet.
Like, has she ever worked with Marvel before or the MCU, or like, has she been in the movie? Like, we don't know any of this stuff. So of course it's going to be harder to bring an entirely new thing in there. And then you've also got a veteran actor like William Hurt. I mean, wow.
Oh yeah.
So,
I mean, that's probably like a best case scenario is have a guy like that on set. I mean,
exactly. He brings that legitimacy to the program. Also, another show out is Loki, where they've pretty much promised that they're going to be introducing Kang the Conqueror.
I'm here for it. We need it.
Yeah.
We need Kang. I think he's been probably one of the more requested villains, I feel like.
Chillmonger and I were talking about, and I theorized that they could easily bring him in because of all the crazy stuff that they did in Ant-Man with the quantum universe and changing time essentially in the Endgame movie and whatnot. But
and we know it's the time variance
authority, exactly. And with Kang being a major character, you're gonna have to do something cool with him. We
Mhm.
remember that Owen Wilson is in an undisclosed role in the Loki TV
He
series.
is.
So all of a sudden, yeah, because
It's
he
making sense.
he fit to me. He fits the role because here's this cat who, like, he's gonna do some silly stuff, but he can still act serious, but he's still gonna be kind of silly sometimes. It's like, how do you mess with a guy who's crazy from going in all these different timelines? You he's not super strong, but like you how do you hurt a person who could stand outside of the time, variance and whatnot? Like it's a role that I think is perfect for Owen Wilson.
Yeah. I'm very interested in it. I went from not really caring much about the Loki TV series to caring more about it, like with the little tidbits they've shown so far.
Yeah,
Yes.
1/3 of a 30-second Super Bowl ad. That's all it took for all three of the
Yeah.
series too.
Oh man, and I think Loki. Loki literally got the least amount of time in that whole spot.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was literally just like, oh hey, Loki.
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston will be in this, and
Yeah.
here's some other stuff.
Did that one get moved forward, or does it have to happen right when Doctor Strange is happening?
I almost feel like it's gotta happen. Maybe sandwich it because I feel like WandaVision's gonna come out before.
It did, yeah. It was supposed to be next year, but now it's going to come out in December of this year.
Okay, so and with everything going on with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness right now, it's likely the date on that's kind of maybe go back a little bit. So maybe sandwich it. Maybe sandwich, put, you got WandaVision here. Maybe put Loki on the backside.
I'm suggesting that Loki is in Doctor Strange while they're
Mhm.
visiting the different universes. So we
Yeah.
gotta end episode 3 of this show so that it could go to the, lead into the movie. An event will happen, and then the next 3 episodes of Loki will continue it, just so Marvel can show how much they plan things. Maybe, and I don't know, but I would love that.
I mean, thing is, dude, these TV shows will. I mean, we haven't seen anything yet, but I feel like these TV shows will probably be the best thing that could have ever happened to Marvel.
Okay, good. I thought you were going to go somewhere else because some people are mad that it's becoming required viewing.
No, I think this is the best thing because you could introduce without having to spend $1 gajillion on an origin story movie. You just do a little TV series, a little quick. I think all of these are 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Little quick TV show. Doesn't even take that much investment. It's probably about the length of a movie.
Yeah.
Well, they're also both releasing in May of 2021.
Oh, wow.
Well, actually, I don't know about May. With Loki, they just said spring, and May is in spring, so.
I mean,
see what I mean? It's got to be connected because they tried to they did bump up Falcon and Winter Soldier and WandaVision. I think it's got to do with people like me who canceled our Disney Plus after Mandalorian. I feel like I matter, and I told Disney more original content, and so that's why they fast tracked.
Moving along, and see, like, okay, always have new content coming in.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When one show ends, Mandalorian's over, Falcon and Winter Soldier needs to be on. Falcon and Winter Soldier's over, WandaVision needs to be on. Or something else. Some other, doesn't have to be Marvel, but something of equal quality. Like because Mandalorian, I think, got people, you've already whet the appetite.
Oh, yeah.
People like, oh, wait a minute. You mean to tell me you can give me a TV show with a movie level budget? Okay, all right. Where's the rest of it? I think that's what people were wanting. They wanted to get more of that. It doesn't even have to be The Mandalorian. It could have been anything else as long as it's as good or better.
Obi-Wan series, let's do it.
Which that case in point, what you just said, I feel like that should have already been ready to rock.
Yeah.
Like maybe not have it come out immediately after The Mandalorian, but it like within another couple of months, we should have had that show.
Yeah.
But
or a completely brand new character within the universe of Star Wars. Do it.
Yeah, just honestly, I'm gonna tell you right now. I think I said this before, but if you really want to keep me invested in Star Wars, keep making stuff like The Mandalorian. I don't care about the Jedi. I don't care about the Skywalkers. Keep giving me new characters. Keep it interesting. It does not have to be about the Empire. It could be about something else entirely going on.
It's
I'm
a
here
big
for
galaxy.
But the Skywalker.
There's also the Outer Rim. Let's get some Yuuzhan Vong, man.
See?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Let's
saying
have a planet where they worship the Force. They just don't call themselves Jedi. They're
Yeah.
not too afraid of the dark side, but they know it exists, and they
Yeah.
use their powers.
like honestly, with the Mandalorian, you could have given me a prequel show about Cara Dune because
Ooh.
her backstory sounded interesting. I was like, man, I actually would not mind watching a series about someone who used to be a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
And kind of like the story we probably should have gotten.
No,
Yeah.
she's not a stormtrooper anymore. They took that out of the original. She was a rebellion
Okay.
person the whole time.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, so give me that. Give me. I want to see that. I just want to see something different. I just want to see something that's not the same old. Just.
Yeah. I want to see her having like flashbacks of being a shock trooper and or a jump trooper, drop trooper, and stuff
that's
like
what
that.
it was.
I want to see all that crazy stuff. I want to see like how she's dealing with the stuff, the relationship, how she was told don't come around here no more, like a Tom Petty song, and I want.
And now that song is stuck in my head.
I just bought the CD again today, and I was playing for my wife, and she's like, "This is really good." I was like, "It's still like the #1 video on MTV." I'm just saying. So, the Alice in Wonderland motif.
Yeah. See, that was Tom Petty trying to let you know he was ready for his role as the Mad Hatter. That was what he was letting us know there.
He's like, Johnny Depp, really? So, like, you eventually went with Willy Wonka? What? Not even the original?
It's like, how is he getting these roles?
So, I've only got one more thing to report, and that is video games. Did anybody see the new Fortnite trailer?
I thought you were gonna go with Sasha Banks and Mandalorian. Can we go there before we go to video games?
No.
Okay.
Because I've only got this one video game.
Okay.
We're already there. Did you guys see the trailer for Fortnite?
I did not see it because I don't fork knife.
Neither did I.
I don't Fortnite either.
But you floss.
Well, okay. Stop saying things from that we were talking about off camera. Yes, I just learned how to freaking do the floss. And that's the dance. I know how to floss my freaking teeth. Anyway, so somebody asked me. Somebody actually asked me. So anyway, if you watch the Fortnite trailer, it's a really short one, and they only focus really on 3 characters. The middle character they focus on is Peely. That's the banana character. If you, I only know his name because I bought the thing because I'm like, this is the coolest freaking toy in the world. Anyway, so there's the scene where he's acting like he's a spy, and there's a panel that spins around. One of those false walls that spins, and when you see what's behind the panel, you actually see Deadpool. You see Deadpool behind the panel, which means Deadpool is going to likely be coming to. They had Thanos already.
Right, Thanos, yes.
Disney did Emperor Palpatine. You didn't know about that?
I didn't know about that one.
What do you mean?
So in the beginning of Rise of Skywalker, it says that the Emperor spoke to everyone and announced that he was back.
Oh, yeah.
That recording is in the video game Fortnite and not anywhere else.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, check it out.
Dude, look, man, Fortnite is out here.
It's nothing contradicts anything he said in that, but it seems like what was said to the galaxy in the Star Wars movie was repurposed and moved to Fortnite in some sort of agreement.
Oh, so there was an agreement. That's what I'm saying. So it's official.
Yeah, it's official. It's the voice actor. It's Ian McDermott is his name.
Yeah, Ian McDermott.
Yeah.
Wow.
So with Deadpool, with Thanos, that looks like Disney knows where Fortnite. Remember Fortnite was in the Endgame movie, Noob Master 69.
Oh, was it? That's too fun. That's
love
fun.
it. Love it.
All that came because the Russo brothers were like, yeah, when we were on downtime and shooting the Infinity War movie, we would be playing Fortnite, and finally one of us were like, you know what? Let's call these guys up, and they're like, yeah, we'll do a Thanos thing. So they actually had the big Thanos thing or whatever. I've watched gameplays, and bang. So now we're gonna have Deadpool showing up. We're gonna have a whole bunch of freaking crossovers. That's crazy.
I'm here for it. Let's make it. Let's make that a thing. I feel like
Yeah.
there aren't enough, especially because we don't have as many comic book adaptations in the video game spectrum anymore. We don't have as many of those as we used to.
Yeah.
Get it out there. I mean, the more people who get their eyes on it, the better.
All of that's about to change now that they own all but one of the properties.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and that's as far as movies are concerned. There's still allowed to make it, and as many video games or television shows, or I think television shows. I might be wrong on that.
Television
cartoons, yes.
Yeah, cartoons. I think they can, if they really wanted to, make television shows.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Yeah,
from what I know.
I think it's just movies.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel has the rights to everything else except movies.
Spider-Man and his universe in the movies. Yes.
Right. Yeah, they can make as many video games, they can make as many cartoons, the merchandising, everything. Yeah, all of it. Like hell, I think they just announced a new comic.
They actually did.
Yeah.
Which is freaking weird. The non-stop Spider-Man. Written by Joe Kelly, art by Chris Bachalo. This is weird, like Spider-Man swinging through the streets with missiles chasing him. Like what?
Wait, can this be like I haven't read the I haven't read the solicit to see exactly what the whole premise is, but in my mind when I saw it, I was like, is this gonna be like Spider-Man, but like the Crank edition? Where like he has to just keep going.
Oh yeah,
like that's the first place my mind went to. Was like, does he have to keep swinging?
Okay, you did just show some of your age because I would think this would be Speed would be the appropriate movie to reference.
Well, Speed would actually be the more appropriate movie.
Right,
but I was like, yeah, but the Jason Statham movie.
But realistically, I guess
it was
Speed was about the bus not being able to stop. Crank was about the dude not being able to stop. So I'll do that.
And then Speed 2, there was a boat.
Yeah, that's don't bring up Speed 2. And there was no John Wick. I'm just saying.
No, God.
Keanu was like, I'm not doing this. I know a flop when I see one.
Which I appreciate. I was like, you know what? That man knows when to get the heck out of Dodge. I appreciate that.
Yeah, he does. So, Chillmonger, you wanted to bring up the
just that Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks has been casted. The woman in question is Mercedes Kestner Vernado. She happens to be one of the four horsewomen of WWE. She is probably my favorite wrestler. It changes. Sometimes it's The Rock. Sometimes it's CM Punk. She's a phenomenal performer. However, I've seen her act, and it's nothing to write home about.
What has she acted in?
No, just like in WWE when she's having those things where the cameraman is standing next to your face, but you're supposed to pretend it's not there.
Right.
It's not too good. I've seen her in Wild and Out, which is an MTV show with Nick Cannon, and she was given her little rhyme to say in the freestyle battle, and the delivery was way off. In the limited things I've seen her in, she stinks. But
she's related to Dog. How come she can't talk great?
Yeah, she's Snoop Dogg's cousin, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And is probably partially responsible for her being in WWE in some aspect or another. Yeah.
Is because he's been in WWE, made lots of appearances before, and he actually vouches like, listen, I got my cousin, this little girl, she's actually really good, huge Eddie fan, and she wrote letters like she's always been, and they were just like, yeah, okay, bring her in, let's talk. So she got frontlined.
She's not the body type that they looked for at the time. But,
100%.
But she's the best wrestler they have in the women's division. Maybe not in the men's, but in the women's for sure.
Yeah, no, the women's division, I would say, there aren't really any other women I would put ahead of her in that respect.
But there's Asuka and there's Charlotte.
Actual wrestling.
Asuka,
Yeah,
you're saying as far as okay, yeah. I don't know that I don't know. I would still put my money on Becky Lynch as far as like drawing those big money dollars and whatnot. But,
well, yeah.
But she's also been given the opportunity to do that. No one has ever wrote for Sasha Banks in WWE that got her. When she was in developmental, superstar. They were main eventing shows that historically were never main evented by women. Her and Charlotte.
And even Bailey
and
to that
Becky.
extent, yeah.
People in Brooklyn had a ladder match that was supposed to follow theirs between Finn Balor and Kevin Owens, and it did not match. The crowd was a little bit more dead, and it's a ladder match where people are going through ladders. You know, they'll throw in a table there just because they can. There's no disqualifications, but everyone was still buzzing and hot for the
women's match,
which should have main evented.
Here's the thing. I don't think that Lynch is that great of a wrestler as far as like, Banks is concerned. No, she doesn't have it, the same way. But
she
it's
has
more
the
of her
attitude, not
and
the
she has
ability.
and the acting. Like she's got the acting ability. She makes it feel real. She makes it feel really engaging. You believe her when she says, "I'm coming down and I'm going to smash you in the face," and like everything she's saying, it's like, holy crap, I love this. She really gets engaging with the stuff. She's got great. I think that she's going to be a great leader, locker room leader at some point. You know what I'm saying? Because you can learn to wrestle. You can't learn to do what she does.
No, you can't. As they say, you can't teach that.
Yeah. Yeah, but then those guys don't work for the company anymore.
Exactly.
Oh man.
Pour one out for
Enzo
Big Cass and Enzo Amore.
Yep.
Or wait, I'm sorry. Real One and whatever Big Cass is called now.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Probably just Big Cass with one S.
Right. I think you might be right, actually.
Yeah.
Plus, at the end of the day, when your only claim to fame is that you're 7 feet tall, it's like, dude, sorry.
It's like, that's all you got?
Yeah, literally, it's all you say. I'm like, I'm 7 feet tall. Who cares?
No, he's actually not even. He's like 6'9".
Oh, dude, nobody's really that tall.
Of Andre the Giant.
They're gonna bill him. They're like that, like his actual like build height. They're gonna be like, oh no, he's 7'2".
Yeah,
he's a huge guy.
Andre the Giant would never take a photo with a basketball player, or if he knows that they're around, he wouldn't be there because when you measured them, you would see the height difference.
Matter of fact, Undertaker, he took a noticeable dip in height because they used to bill him one way, and like I forget what the exact height was. It was like a 4 or 5 inch difference. I was like, good lord.
Yeah, he's like what, 6'8" in real life or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah,
which
is still huge, but like when you're saying he's 7 feet tall, it's like, okay, listen.
It's like actually he's closer to like 6'8". I mean, maybe if you round up.
Look, I'm 6'5". I'd still be looking up to this dude and be like, "Whoa!"
Speaking of height, this is something we learned when Lars Sullivan was actually still active on the NXT roster, and
we're actually going to start talking about Lars Sullivan again.
Well, I just think it's funny because my wife discovered she is taller than him.
Oh,
wow!
Because he actually walked by us. We were at the like where they come down the ramp. We were at the gate, but like on the ramp side. And when he walked by, she literally looked at him and was like, wow, he looks so much taller on TV. I'm taller than him. That kind of kills the illusion.
So is he the Tom Cruise of the wrestling world?
I feel like he is, but minus the acting ability.
Well, he's been in a movie before.
And Chill is done. Chill is
like, I'm leaving. He took off the headset and everything.
He's like, not like this.
We were saying, oh my God, I love that moment. Switch.
Yeah.
Switch from the Matrix. Not like this.
Not like this.
What do you call it? We were talking before there. One of our 4.5-hour parts of the conversation were that he was actually in that porno movie where he was with a guy, and that wouldn't be such a big deal if he didn't make so much of a big stink about how gay people and the F word and blah 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 blah. And it's like, wow, man, wow.
It's like, well, but he's totally gay for pay.
Talk about pay-go.
Right? I mean, if you're gay for pay, you're still gay. And that's not a bad thing. I think you should embrace and own your truth. Be yourself. You'll be a happier person for it.
And if you want to stay in the closet, just don't start shooting down others.
Yeah, exactly. You can sit in the closet and just chill. Yeah, have a juice box.
Okay, keep him away from me.
Chill and chill.
Chill, and I look.
Wait, what?
I mean,
did he take
I'll
that
be
to heart?
brutally honest. Lars Sullivan is the last person especially after seeing that video, he's the last person I would want to run into in a dark alley. Just saying. Because I would just not know what to think. I would just be like, oh my God, what is he doing here? Especially if he's giving you the weird, evil look he always has. Be like,
so is Sasha Banks going to be a Twi'lek?
Hold on.
Oh, most likely.
Hold on. Let's just go back really quick. Do we think that we'll ever see Lars Sullivan on WWE NXT TV again?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Not for a while. Not for a good look. They may keep him off on the shelf for another 2 years, just so people forget about it.
Do you think people will forget about it?
Yeah, I don't think
they
so.
will not forget about it.
People,
they won't forget.
With the Hulk Hogan thing, it's a very different, but he had his episode where it looked like it was done, but he is accepted by fans, which makes me disappointed in a lot of fans. But yeah, nothing's impossible. Like people say when Tekashi 6ix9ine comes out of prison, his music will be the hottest thing ever. And I'm like, no, he told. This is a rapper who snitched, for anyone who doesn't know.
Mm-hmm. With Hulk Hogan, I personally feel like he already had a huge amount of fame, something that Lars Ulrich. No, I'm thinking
Lars Sullivan.
Sullivan. I'm thinking Metallica.
I was like, that's the guy who hated Napster.
That's the little drummer guy, the little drummer boy. But I loves me some Metallica, but that is the little drummer boy. Yeah. Anyway, bragging about how he made fun of Nikki Sixx and then started running away from him and whatnot from Motley Crue. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. He doesn't have nearly what Hulk Hogan had and whatnot. And one thing that could be argued, like, listen, I'm fully against racism, and what he said was some really despicable, dirty stuff, and I'm not here to defend the man. I will say, though, that when you are in a really low place, sometimes you're just trying to shoot hurt, and you could say some things that you will regret later. It would have been nice if his apology actually seemed to have more weight to it. If he actually felt more about his, apology. If you didn't have people like the New Day and
Titus O'Neil,
Titus
O'Neil saying, "Listen, it didn't really sound like you were taking full responsibility for that. That holds a lot of weight with me."
For everyone who doesn't know, right before a pay-per-view on Sunday, they invited Hogan to speak to the wrestlers, and he did a little speech. But the primary focus of it was, watch out, the cameras are everywhere. This is a lesson you should be learned. When that shouldn't have been what he was talking about. He should have said, I apologize for what I said. So it's like, okay, remember how like before we started recording, I was talking to you, Ernie, and I said, people know that Captain Marvel was Monica Rambeau. So when they want to trash on this new Captain Marvel, well, the first woman Captain Marvel was actually black. It's like you understand that racism is bad, and you understand that taking jobs from black people is bad, but you don't understand the whole nuance of what just went down. Carol Danvers,
right. No. You're 1,000%.
Yeah, right.
1,000%.
Finish your thought, Showlonger.
Yeah.
That Carol Danvers was Ms. Marvel and she was powered, and Monica Rambeau never took her powers. So when I was talking about Hulk Hogan, see, I opened a tab in my brain and now I don't know where I was. And I opened another tab and then I opened a new tab. Where am I now?
Wow. I always forget. It's like when you walk into a new room.
Yeah.
And so you're Hogan, like, wait, why did I come in here?
So Hogan went in there and after that, Titus O'Neil, the New Day, these are black wrestlers, actually went to social media, which is unheard of. They, you keep stuff like that in-house. These wrestlers said, man, while we are all about second chances, and it's a big, long statement, we don't think that it was sincere. We'll accept your apology when it's genuine. However, now months later, Kofi Kingston wins the title. It's WrestleMania. And they asked one of the members, Big E, was it? And he was all like, he was more cheerful. It's like when the company just gave the title to Kofi Kingston, that was not the time to be bashing them. So he gave a little bit more neutral answer.
I think it also said a lot because the New Day. Sorry, Ernie.
No, you're good.
The New Day was Xavier Woods and Big E. Big E Langston. Remember when they used to call him by the full name? Like,
Yeah.
Lord.
Antonio
right?
Cesaro,
Oh,
Alexander Rusev,
Oh,
oh my
man.
gosh.
Wait,
Rey Mysterio
Mustafa
Jr.
Ali?
Yeah.
Mustafa Ali, yeah.
Andrade C and
The
Almas?
whole thing. The whole thing. That's the one I was trying to remember, Andrade's full name. Anyway, they
Oh, Buddy Murphy.
He's not Buddy Murphy. Which one did they keep?
He's just Murphy.
Huh. I would have kept Buddy.
I couldn't make this up if I wanted to.
I really don't remember what I was talking about now. Anyway, okay, yeah. So the New Day, their whole thing was about we're going to try and push Kofi because Kofi's deserved greatness for a long time. So that was their whole thing. And I know there's a lot of people who are talking about, oh, when are they going to split up? When are they going to do this? In the exact same sentence, they were talking about how if they ever do demand that we split up, then I'm pretty much done with wrestling. I'm done with the WWE. I'm done with whatever. Like we're only doing this to boost up, this man right here, and then hopefully move on. Exactly. They're probably going to move to AEW, and they're going to go on to much bigger and better things.
That was my biggest problem with a lot of my wrestling compañeros. When it came to the whole like Kofi winning the title thing, like everyone kept talking about, oh man, I can't wait for Big E, to turn on him. Like, why? Like, why can't, and yeah, I'll put my soapbox away. I don't want to get on it just yet, but why can't three black men just get along and be happy for one another that one of them won a title?
Have the Freebirds ever broke up and fought each other?
I don't.
That now you're going like way back, but
I
cannot remember a time.
Think so.
Okay.
I mean, it's not to say it probably didn't happen.
I can't even remember a time that the Four Horsemen went against each other. Can you?
I mean, like there was sometimes like I think there was one point in time maybe like some internal, like they might have had like an internal beef, but no one like was like, oh, I'm done. I'm gone. Like Arn like, I'm out of here. Yeah.
I think in a 96 pay-per-view they faked it and then they turned on Sting. Or was it Luger?
Yeah. I think that's the most that I think's ever happened. And if anything else happened, it was probably during a crazy time in WCW when WCW was just being WCW.
I don't remember a time when either of those two groups ever turned against each other. I simply don't.
So it could be done.
I don't remember a time when the Hart Foundation ever turned against each other, whether it was just Jim the Anvil and Bret Hart or the whole foundation that eventually happened toward in the Attitude Era. I don't remember. Not everything has to be Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not everything has to be Evolution, where everybody has literally turned against each other. Not everything has to be DX, both versions. Yeah, exactly. The thumbs up, thumbs down thing. They did that with Batista. They did that before that with
Randy Orton.
RKO, yeah, Randy Orton. Like,
in all of these groups, all of them that stuck together that we're mentioning, they've got people who are top tier who actually can put their foot down and say, no, we're sticking together. Ric Flair, Bret Hart, these guys are going to say,
yeah.
Or the WCCW dudes. Was that where Freebirds were? That wasn't their territory. They were in Bath Street, Atlanta, GA.
Yeah, I mean, like
they were down there. Yeah, so
like they were main and important in that territory, so they got the ability to say, "Nah, we're not breaking up."
Not Mid-Atlantic either. Anyway, sorry, I'm literally going to all the places that they've gone to. Sorry,
man, the territory days,
man.
One day,
those were the days.
One day we might get back to it.
We'll never get back to that.
No, not so long as Vincent Kennedy McMahon is.
No, it can never go back to the territory days. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to say we're going to. No, but you got to understand. Back in the I followed wrestling back when I was a wee kid. That was the only time I was allowed to come indoors when the sun was out. Like if it was raining or if it was night. Other than that, if the sun was up, I was outside. Unless wrestling was on. There was 1 hour on the weekend. I forget if it was a Saturday or Sunday where wrestling was on. And that's when my dad would call out, "Son!" Like, "Oh, wrestling's on." and that hour I was allowed to be indoors. You know, we come from a different time period than some of these kids today, man. Anyhow,
what do you mean you went outside?
outside for what?
Was there a fire?
was there a fire?
Was there ice cream? I don't know. Occasionally,
man.
So with Sasha Banks, I just hope they don't make her an alien, because that would every time there's a biracial person, which she is, if you're not familiar, half black and half white, it's like a unique face. They're so exotic, and I don't want them to make her an alien.
I think she should be a regular person, but just
a human, right?
Yeah, just make her just a regular human. She doesn't have to be a Twi'lek. She doesn't have to be an
Ugnaught.
Yeah, I don't want her to be a Mon Calamari or I don't need any of that.
They made her a Mon Calamari. It's a trap.
She's like, I'm a legit boss.
That sounded more like a Murloc, personally, but hey.
I just want to point out, when I saw the Warcraft movie, when the one time the one little lone Murloc shows up in the movie, everyone collectively in the theater made that noise. I was never more proud and more ashamed at the same time to be a part of the Warcraft community. I was like, damn it, don't y'all do it. Y'all did it. It actually felt kind of good.
Yeah, because you were doing it too.
I was doing it too. I actually had to fight the urge. I was like, ooh, don't do it. Oh, they did it too. Fuck it.
What's awesome. Ahsoka Tano's people? What if they make her one of those? Or what if she actually is Ahsoka Tano? Could that work with the ages? That would be huge.
Oh my god! How did you make that sound?
I have no idea. I don't know how I make most of the noises I make when words come out of my mouth. But no, I could see that. You know what? I think you could make that work, but I don't know if she could do it.
I don't think so.
I think she could look like the character.
Yeah, she would look like the character.
But I don't think she could be the character. Like it's kind of like when people do fan casting and they pick somebody for a role just because they look the part, not because they actually have the ability. I feel like it would be one of those scenarios. But you never know. I mean, she may have seen an acting coach. She may have spent time with acting coaches while she was on vacation for 6 months, whatever, how long she was on vacation. Maybe she's gotten her game. I don't know. I want to believe in people.
I'm sorry. Do you guys remember when Bill Burr showed up on the thing? And
yep,
he didn't go to an acting coach, and if he did, oh my god!
Oh no, Bill Burr was being.
You guys
Bill
didn't
Burr.
like him? I loved him. Mayfield.
I mean, I didn't mind him. I wanted him to get killed so bad, because he did a good job of making me not like him.
I literally looked at this as like, I'm embarrassed to be an Italian from New York, New Jersey area.
The one I actually really liked, because it took me a while to realize it was her. I forget her name, but she plays Nymphadora Tonks in Harry Potter.
Okay.
But she was the Twi'lek in the same episode.
Okay.
But I actually really liked her character. I was like, oh man, she was great. Awesome.
And they're usually overly sexualized, that species. So to see someone who was, I guess, kind of, because they tease their relationship, but still, she was wearing clothes.
But she wasn't like buck naked or like dancing on a chain in Jabba's palace or something like that.
The Twi'leks are always sexually overly sexualized, whatever, because they were actually a slave race. And they were like, even the men, like Bib Fortuna, he's actually a male Twi'lek. All of them sold into service for whatever reason, and usually with the women, it's like, oh, good chattel.
Yeah. Man, Bib Fortuna. I haven't heard that name. I like. He's one of those characters. Like he's.
What about Salacious Crumb?
Yes, the little.
Yep.
That thing. Actually, it was even scarier or funnier to see one of them being eaten or cooked.
Yeah, and
in The
seeing his
Mandalorian.
buds and everything, like they were cooked everywhere. It's like, what the heck is this?
I was like, this is not your daddy's Mandalorian.
See, but the
But
Mandalorian was essentially perfect because literally, here's like, oh, if a Mandalorian character fails, you don't need a whole lot of acting involved. Whatever. It's almost like a Frankenstein movie. He never really has to show his face. It's like at the end of the day, who cares if it fails? Oh well. When they were originally going to do a Boba Fett movie or a TV show, and they were just like, no, don't do Fett. Just do some random Mando, and then just do that. And it's like it worked.
Big time.
And they even got a guy who I felt was like, I mean, maybe he's not the biggest name actor, but I feel like he's known enough.
People loved him after he defeated and then was killed by the mountain.
Yeah, I
in,
mean,
Game of Thrones.
Pedro Pascal was. It took me a while to realize he was in Buffy once.
Oh,
didn't even notice. And I had even watched the episode he was in roughly around the time The Mandalorian came out, and I was like, wow, I did not catch that. But no, I mean, he was good
now.
Yeah. Like, I mean, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, he is two things to me. He is DC's Donald Trump for Wonder Woman 84, and he is Din Djarin. I'm here for all of it. I'm absolutely here for it. No one can convince me otherwise. I want more. Can Wonder Woman 84, can it be out now? I just want to watch it. That's all I want.
And they better have the song from the trailer in there, because that was a kick-ass song.
Oh, it's about when they played, what was it, Blue Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That is actually one of my favorite New Order songs. So it makes me smile. That I always like it when I hear that song getting used in something. More of it. Let's go.
All right. What else you got there, Chill?
I want to move over to comics.
Ooh.
Oh, I know. You want to talk about how the big news, the super big news about Jessica Drew using her Venom blasts in new ways in the new Spider-Woman comic book, right?
Yeah, that was exactly the thing I had in mind. Jessica
So
Drew.
Dan Didio apparently got fired. Because nobody cares about the freaking thing.
No. I mean, I don't know. I said my piece ad nauseum about it this morning. I'm just kind of like,
yeah, I've talked about it almost to redundancy the one time in the live cast, and like I kept on getting distracted and people bringing me back to it. I'm like, I really don't have a lot to say.
no. I'll say this much, and maybe I didn't express this when I talked about it on the Blerd Cave this morning, but I don't hate him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I don't even dislike him.
Exactly.
I kind of have the same mentality. Like, I think Gail Simone said something that actually kind of resonated with me, and she was just like, I didn't agree with him on everything, but I don't hate him. I don't dislike him. And I hope that whatever he does next, he has success, or something to that effect. And that's kind of how I feel about it. I'm like, I don't think he's a bad person. He employed a lot of people. He put food on a lot of people's table. There are a lot of writers who have come out and they've all pretty much said kind of the same thing. He was a great guy to work for. May not have agreed with him. That's pretty much what everyone universally says, is that we didn't agree on everything, but we're friends. We were able to work together. That tells me everything I need to know.
It tells me everything I need to know too, because well, I would figure, because I don't know him. I don't know. I've never met him. I've never shaken hands with him. Nothing. I've never seen him across the room. So I don't have the right to make a judgment about him as a person. You know what I'm saying? I have no reason to dislike him. Thus, I think that he seems like a good enough person without knowing him, the intricacies. But with people saying, oh, we've had some problems before, but such and such and such, that's one of those times where you don't disqualify the but.
Yeah.
Usually people say, oh, if somebody says but, you ignore everything they said before. You're a great person. and I love you so much, but it's like, okay, ignore that other stuff. That's where you start paying attention. In this case, that's where you pay very close attention to everything that came before the but. We didn't get along a whole lot. We disagreed on a bunch of things, but now you disqualify everything afterwards. Now you're saying you're trying to be civil. And it's like, but I'm glad this guy is gone. So that honestly says a lot. And again, I don't know him. Maybe I'm just reading into things a lot. But here's the but again. If I'm seeing this pattern of speech, I'm reading it.
There were enough tweets to make you think.
Yeah. No, that definitely. And just, does it mean DC is audit? Like I used to get this a lot in my comments, and when I used to cover more DC books, there were always like onslaughts of people talking about, man, they need to get him out of here. Get him out of here. He's the worst thing that ever happened to DC. Oh my God, he's the worst. If they get rid of him, everything will be better. Well, all right, he's gone. So is everything better now?
No.
Well, it wouldn't immediately be better.
but I just like that's my thing. Like, it's like, it's like, does that mean it's going to be fixed? No, we don't know yet. And who knows? They may replace him if they replace him.
Well,
maybe they won't. I don't know.
We were talking about how Jim Lee was just promoted a little bit. He's the only guy who's actually there. So it's funny. This guy who broke from Marvel, we were just talking about not too long ago, broke from Marvel, from the most successful book in Marvel, and said, yeah, I'm going to go solo. I'm going to do Image Comics with a bunch of my buds.
He founded Image Comics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Him, what was it? Him, Eric Larson,
Rob Liefeld.
Todd McFarlane.
Yep.
And 4 others.
Yeah, there was the whole group of them. They said, we're going to start Image Comics, and then all of a sudden, my company just, my part of this company got absorbed and purchased by DC Comics. Oh, look, now I'm suddenly, one of the big guys. Oh crap, I'm in charge of everything.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
and it's not. I don't think it's even Didio's fault for the sales being low. I look at the industry numbers in total year by year. It's basically the same as it was in 2018 when you look at 2019. So what happened? It's just people were spending their money that was going to go to DC. I'm just saying maybe they're spending that money now on Marvel when the X-Men became a thing. Maybe that $4 was heading over to the other company that's across the aisle in the same store. So what?
Now, I'll tell you what I heard. This is hearsay. This is hearsay. No one's confirmed this. I have heard that Scott Snyder was probably in some part, not just Scott Snyder, but other writers who have left DC in the last, I guess year, 2, 3 years, whatever. Yep. But a lot of people said that one of the biggest things was like, because they had the whole, was it 5G, whatever the hell it's called, where it's supposed to be like moving everything forward and replacing Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman with like newer counterparts, new people in the mantle. A lot of people weren't crazy about that, and Scott Snyder was supposedly very vocal about the fact that he didn't want any part of it because he felt it would hurt retailers. And he didn't say, not his words exactly, but along the same lines as what Marvel, all different Marvel, the way people felt about that, he felt it was going to be a repeat of that. And he was very vocal about not wanting death metal to have anything to do with it. Like, he wanted death metal to be completely separate. Which, I mean, that makes sense because it would kind of ruin his story if that's the case, or maybe what he had planned for the story. But I mean, I don't know.
I know that he was very depressed, and I don't want to go into a private DM that I had with Mr. Snyder, but yeah, he confirmed a question that I had. Like, it feels like you were really depressed during
Justice League.
Yeah, the Justice League run, and you were like overcompensating with a lot of action and things like that. And he basically confirmed, and then we talked a little bit about a couple other things, not a whole lot at all. I don't want to act like we're best buds, and he's not coming on the podcast, guys. He's not coming on the podcast. So I never even made the suggestion or the offer. Yeah. So I don't even know if he knows that I have a freaking comic book review channel. I don't go around bragging to people.
I honestly don't talk about it. Like, I chit chat off and on. Not I say chit chat. I tweet at, and sometimes Gail replies, sometimes she doesn't. with Gail Simone, I say not word one about anything I do. Because I don't know, I always feel like I don't know. I always feel weird about it. But I'm like, let's just talk.
Yeah. Yeah, because then otherwise I've seen it before where like I'll talk to somebody and they know that it's like, oh, hey, you're the guy who interviewed Kate's, and it's like, crap, that's gonna follow me forever, isn't it? And it's like, I was so what about such and such? This like, okay, listen, I can't tell you because you can't be reporting this stuff. It's like, listen, man, I can separate me being a fan and me being, a comic book reporter or whatever, you consider me as. Like, just tell me so that I know. And, what I'm saying? Like, I know a bunch of things about the Three Jokers and why it's taking so long and things like that. But I was
There's
asked
like stuff
not
you
to.
can't put out there.
Yeah. It's like, because then it's like it compromises my integrity, as a human. And I don't want to do that.
People don't understand that, and that's kind of one of the big things that, like, when I got to talk to Donnie Cates, it's been like over a year ago. In the interview, like, there were parts that I cut, and I specifically said, "Hey, I cut this part right here because he asked me not to publish part of this interview, and I made a promise that I wouldn't." And people were like, "Oh, you should release it, man. You should go ahead and release it." I was like, "I'm not gonna release it because he trusted me to not say anything." Like, and hell, Chris Claremont, same thing. There were a few things, and when I talked to him, he was like, "Hey, don't publish this," and I'm like, "You got it," because what does that make me look like if they say, "Hey, don't put this out here," and I put it out there? And the next thing you know, my name is attached to it. And not only am I screwing them over, but it's also going to make it to where they're going to be like, "Oh, hey, we don't trust this guy anymore."
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't want to be known as that guy that's like, a problem, like a problem causer or anything like that. So,
well, that's why I usually do all of my interviews live, where it's like, dude, whatever you say is on the record. I mean, I don't know.
Exactly. Just like there's no hidden tape. There's no hidden footage. It just is.
It's out there right now.
Yeah, it's like it is what it is. So
think about what you're gonna say. Yeah, think about what you're gonna say before you say it. Don't sit here and tell me to edit things. I hate editing.
No, I edited out about 20 minutes of a rant that Kate went on about the Venom movie, and I completely cut it out, deleted it, and left it at that. So it exists in my head, nowhere else.
Similar to my Donnie Cates story.
Yeah.
There isn't one.
Oh, exactly. Oh. They don't exist. They don't exist. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? There is no such thing.
I feel left out over here being the only guy without
Oh, dude, trust me. He trust me. Just I say this is 2020 is the year of shooting shots. I've actually seen smaller channels than myself or Professor Bill's get interviews with people that I'm just like, well, why are they not talking to me?
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I've seen it too, and I'm like, oh yeah, because I never asked.
Yeah, exactly. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
So that has been my mentality. But yeah, for going forward, yeah.
I keep going into Silver Snail, hoping I'll bump into Chip Zdarsky.
Hey, look, at least you'll get to bump into him. I'm like, dude, there's no one here in Memphis. I mean, there are people, but like, there's no one.
Jerry the King Lawler.
Oh Lord, I'm good.
Talk to me.
You don't hear the stories? This guy's got a reputation for basically everything.
Yeah, he's
reputation, allegedly.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it firsthand.
I keep instinctively wanting to hit my Law and Order button, but yeah, allegedly, and even not allegedly, like actually. Yeah, he just shady individual, not a. I mean, I'm sure he's done good things for a lot of other people, and he's a lot of things to a lot of other people. But yeah, he's one of the
around the bush. You're beating around the bush, and there's an Eminem quote. about that. So why don't you just say what you got to say, man?
That is basically. I will just say, just seeing him around town. I'm not gonna say underage women, but just women that are way too young for him. And some,
gotcha.
Just some comments that I've heard him make that just are both on live television and just out and about in the world. I'm just kind of like, nah, you're not my guy, man. Stuff that's like, both, racist and sexist. I mean, it's not surprising. He came up in the ad. He's probably said way more sexist stuff on live television than actually out in the world. But hearing him say some things that were like racist, I was kind of like, no, I'm good.
Wow.
I'll put it this way. I was more enthusiastic to shake the hand of superstar Bill Dundee than Jerry the King Lawler. So there you go. I always try not to say too much though, because I literally could bump into him at any point. he literally frequents a radio station that I sometimes do interviews at. And I don't want him to pile drive me. Not that he could. I wouldn't let him. But just saying, I might forget and get into kayfabe mode and just let him. There may be cooperation on my part.
I was paid a job. I was paid.
I'm like, well, it's like, hey, can you throw me to the ropes real quick and then hit me with the sidewalk slam? I'll sell for a few minutes and then you can get me with the pile driver. Okay, that's the finish. I want to yell the match so the whole audience can hear me like John Cena.
Like John Cena, yeah, right. Okay,
actually, Becky
we're
Lynch too now to that degree.
She does also.
Yeah, Becky Lynch is real bad about it. Wow. I've noticed the big baby faces are real bad about it. Like whoever's the top baby face, they all do it. Roman Reigns is kind of bad about it. Not as bad as the other two, but Becky, you can hear her in the cheap seats. Wow. Yeah, like it's pretty bad. Wrestling. What am I gonna do? Wrestling is it's predetermined, so I am inclined to just go along with things.
If they were to just use their lav mics and then just use speakers backwards, you wouldn't hear that stuff regardless. So a lot of it I'm gonna have to blame on the sound production, which comes down to Vince McMahon. Everything comes down to Vince McMahon. So Vinny Mac. Chill. What else you got?
I want to talk about Batman 89 and the new first appearance, right? We're not going to 180, 181.
Of Incredible Hulk.
Oh, Ernie, where do you stand on that? Wolverine's first appearance, it's 180, right?
I feel like I'm inclined to say yes.
His first cameo appearance was there, and his first full appearance was over here. And I don't have a problem with saying cameo and full and
yeah.
That is actually a funny thing you mentioned that though, because I bought Gambit has a similar thing.
Yes.
He actually has, depending on what you're looking for.
I don't think anybody's got it worse than Venom.
Oh God.
Because Back in Black was the first time, right?
Well,
what am I saying?
No, actually that would be Secret Wars issue number 8, I think.
Yeah, is Secret Wars issue number 8 is technically the first appearance of the Venom symbiote.
Yes, but they didn't know that's what it was going to be.
Right.
And then there's issue number Amazing Spider-Man number what was it? 298, 299, and 300. And it's like, well, which one of those 3? Because all of and actually over in Web of Spider-Man also there's one. And it's like, dude,
Web of Spider-Man has it too.
Like, what do you do? What do you do at this point?
I'm like this, man. Key issues are weird. Just saying.
Yeah.
You got to go with what you think is the most valuable. If you perceive 180 as the first appearance of Wolverine, you're looking for that first appearance, go ahead and get it. If you love the story of Hulk fighting Wolverine and the Wendigo, go get 181 and dictate it on your own. Be free thinking and don't let the app tell you what to do.
Please don't.
With Batman now, with it being 89, you mentioned, there's a lot of places we can go with this, but you said that Carlos, who runs the Gotham Central, in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. He would limit how many comics he would give to each customer. It would be one per.
One per, just for the first week, and then he's going to get a resupply next week, and then come in and buy all of them if you want. Who cares?
Now, I love... Well, the first printing is usually worth more money. The one he gets next week will be considered a second printing?
No, it's still a first printing.
I guess this would depend on if he ran out of anything. Okay.
Well, that takes a big bite out of what I was going to argue, because if it's the same value, though, the shipment he's getting next week, then never mind. I was going to say that these comic book creators know they're going to do something with a first appearance. Oh, by the way, we're not even saying who the first appearance is. So Joker's going to get a new girlfriend, or a new a sweet fang by the name of
Punchline.
By the name of Punchline, and that's going to be his new Harley Quinn. It's a brand new character. Now, James Tynion, he announced in his newsletter, was it?
That only in his newsletter, yes.
Rather than the Twitter route of making it well known this is a first appearance. I'm looking at it business-wise, and even for his own sake, why not? Let the world know so that there aren't going to be limited... Like, people want to collect first appearances. Let everybody know this will be it so that they have an opportunity to get one rather than paying $200. If you told everyone this would be the first appearance, then the comic book stores would order more, the fans would get more, there would be more on the market years from now. Because speaking from a guy who just got a new X-Men 133, a comic book that came out in 2004, wouldn't you be really happy if there were just an abundance of those books and you could have just gotten one at your local shop? Like, we need to have first appearances and other key issues, maybe wedding issues. Let everyone know that you're debuting something here and it's special.
No, and I'm going to disagree. And first off, big thanks again to Derek McElroy, because he sent me that first appearance of Sand. That was a very, very cool thing. Oh, duh, I said Sand. Of Dust, yeah, big thanks.
I was like, wait a minute, Sand?
Sand, a new character. So Soraya, totally freaking awesome that he did that. So thank you very much. So basically, I'm gonna give you a contrary point of view on this. I think that making this a big announcement and all that stuff, it takes away from the value of the... And I don't mean the monetary value. I mean the reading enjoyment value of sitting down and reading this. Because, like, look, when I did my review of issue number 89, Batman, I told everybody what everybody else was saying. First cameo appearance of, whatever. She only appears in the back. First off, it seems like nobody knows that she also appeared in the middle of the book also. There were actually 2 cameo appearances in that issue. Wow, way to pay attention, peeps. Also, way to pay attention to the idea that, hey, here's these other characters like Gunsmith that's actually got a backstory for himself in here. This character who's basically a nothing throwaway minor league character, but he's got a backstory. Interesting. Tynion would do that. Oh, look, introduction of brand new tech also that he's been doing, courtesy of Lucius Fox, his new version of Alfred. Hey, here's the new... He's working with Alfred at this point. Hey, it was also revealed in this issue that Joker does know the secret identity of a lot of the Bat family. There was a lot that happened in this issue. But since the big news was, Punchline is going to be in this one, a brand new character, blah, 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 it's going to do it against Harley. And it literally took away from the actual story and all these amazing things that Tynion was bringing to the table. And maybe, who knows, what did I miss? What else is in there? So for me, it's like, I'm glad that it wasn't some big deal where it's like, okay, guys, check this out. Let's do this brand new sale where it's like, hey, and like Kelly Thompson did the exact same thing. She introduced a new character in issue number 1 of Captain Marvel and didn't say a goddamn thing about it. And then when issue 8 came out, people are like, oh, it's going to be a big deal. And then somebody comes and looks like, wait a second, issue number 1. So now people are going crazy over that and whatnot. Why should she turn around and say, okay, guys, in issue number 1, because issue number 1s are already supposed to be a big deal. If she says, okay, guys, in issue number 1, here's this really big, important character, because you don't even know who's going to be important. You don't know.
Dark Knight's Metal did something kind of similar with the Batman Who Laughs. A lot of people made the mistake of thinking that that was Dark Knight's Metal number 2 or 3 or whatever, where was the Batman Who Laughs first appearance, and it was actually like
Teen Titans.
Teen Titans. Yeah,
was Titans or Teen Titans?
I think it was Teen Titans.
I think it was Teen Titans. Yeah, it was like the red cover. Yeah, that was actually the first appearance.
And that book, when people realized how popular the Batman Who Laughs was, people went back and started like
all of a sudden that shot up on eBay. Yeah. They were combing the desert. Nice Star Wars reference.
Yeah.
Look at the idea of all these first appearances of these new characters like Speed Machine, Death Machine, Devastator. You know, saying all these other crazy characters, these new versions of Batman. None of them really went anywhere except for Speed Machine. And all of a sudden people are like, oh, this is actually a really cool version of him. Holy crap, I really like this. That you don't know which one's going to be if any of them is going to be big.
But you know there's a market of people who are willing to sit on these books, and they've got plenty of storage space in their basements. So go ahead and announce it. It'll only help you, the publisher, because you'll get a lot of sales out of it. It'll help the market, the comic book readers, because, again, years from now, there will be an abundance of these comics. Like if I wanted to Spawn #1, it's easier to find than it should be, because they just happen to make a crap ton of those.
They made a lot of those.
Here is where there's going to be a lot of backlash on multiple sides against what you just said. Because one, it takes away from the speculation value. It takes away from the value itself of the comic book. If there's multiple, there's called supply and demand. If there's a lot of supply, there can't really be that much of a demand anymore, because it's like it's easy to get. There's nothing special about the book if everybody's got one. Hey,
that's how X-Men #1 messed up.
Yes. Those variant covers. How about we also talk about Death of Superman?
Oh God.
How many copies do you have, Ernie?
Currently 1, but I have owned multiple.
Yeah,
like just throughout the years.
My mother heard about this in the newspaper back in, I think it was 93, 92, 93. And she went to the store and she bought my comic book store, and she bought 5 of each version, the covered and the uncovered. So I had 10 copies of this stuff lying around. I'm like, Mom, what am I going to do with all these? Well, people are saying they're going to be worth a lot of money and things like that. I'm sorry. I lived through that era where no,
they're not really worth anything.
Well, how much can you buy a Death of Superman today?
Depends on what jackass you go to.
Well, what's the price? It'll be more than $4, I'm sure.
Yeah, it'll be more than the cover price.
Therefore, value.
But like, I've found them for $5 and $10. And it's literally like you're looking at it like, dude, I can get this anywhere. And they usually sit and they just keep on being re-upped on eBay and stuff like that. It's like they're not selling because nobody cares.
I think Death of Superman is one of those comics that's like, it's nice to say, it's one of those, it's nice to be able to say that you have it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really, I mean, I don't know. I actually do kind of appreciate like the whole thing that Kelly Thompson did.
Yeah.
Because I remember reading that first issue and thinking, they took time to give her a name, but I feel like she's just
Ripley Riley.
Like they just gave her, I think maybe she's a throwaway character. And then the more the story went along, I was like, oh, wait a minute. This heifer's up to something. And then it's like, oh, wait a minute. She's actually, turns out, oh, she's Star. And then it's like, you go back and like, oh, wait a minute. This is what's actually going on here. This is okay. And then you go back. But I mean, yeah, it's, I don't know. I feel like a lot of times the things get announced as key issues and wind up not being key issues because whatever the character.
How much more special was that it was a fan who noticed?
Mm-hmm.
Because Kelly revealed it a couple issues later where Carol Danvers like, Riley? Is that you? And then she goes, it's Riley Ripley. Oh, do you mean that person that we met back in that one issue? Blah, 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 blah. We find that a couple issues later where all of a sudden people could have been like, holy crap, 15 issues ago? But somebody happened to notice in issue 8. And it was a big deal. The people who were on Twitter and all that stuff, it was a big deal like that. With Punchline, the only reason why Punchline is even special is because he kept it as a low-key thing where if Tinian, if you were subscribed to Tinian's thing, I think it's his 11th, whatever, I don't know, newsletter. Well, then you got some information. Hey, I'm going to be, a new replacement for Joker's new replacement for Harley Quinn and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh, well, that could be interesting. But a bunch of comic book speculators were like, holy crap. And they start telling a friend and, what is it? Telephone, telefax, telewrestler, that whole, comment. So
I just remember that it made the round so much that it was all over every news site, and I remember there were people who were like blowing my inbox up, DMs, all that stuff. Like, hey, did you hear? Like, I was like, I guess I have. I now feel like I know too much.
So let me ask you this instead: what if, for the Death of Captain America, issue number 25, Ed Brubaker's run, what if it didn't make the newspapers?
Then there would have been less sales.
F the sales. What about those of us who actually just read the comic books for the comic books? We're to read the comic book and to look at this comic book and in the end of issue number 25, be like, oh, cool. Whoa, 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 whoa. What just happened here?
Okay.
Because don't we all complain about spoilers?
But a death is never final. So even when someone dies, we don't, whoa. When Kate died, Kate Pride, did we all flip out and say, can't believe it? Well, it was a good run. No, I rolled my eye. I don't know about you guys, but I know she's coming back.
You're comparing nowadays with back then.
Well,
how long ago was back then?
2008.
That's not that back then. Death of Superman already happened.
And now name me one other character that died in between that time.
All of them.
Colossus. I mean,
Colossus died? When did Colossus die?
Yeah,
in between 92
and... He got the legacy virus. Legacy virus, and Joss Whedon brought him back in Astonishing.
See, my whole thing with it is just the fact that, like, to me, I don't even care. Like, I don't want to. If the character dies, it's the journey, the point to get there, and then how it's handled after the fact. Like, because we know, we know the character's gonna come back, but
she's still in books. She's in the Fantastic Four crossover.
This is true. But I mean, at this point, for X-Men, and right now, it's kind of a weird one to me because, like, no one stays dead. I mean, hell, we literally just saw Jean and Kid Omega and whoever else chopped up in Wolverine #1, and then what was it? Wolverine, Kid Omega got blown up / cut in half, and X-Force number 3 or 4 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Good call on the list.
Well, don't end really quick. A comic book. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, just pointing out. Yeah, good call on the legacy virus thing. Good one. I won't even get into the idea of major character or not, because I don't think Colossus has ever been considered a major character. But what I will say is that deaths actually meant something back then. They genuinely did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like the idea that you can even mention, holy crap, you know what I'm saying? But when you spoil something, like it's really killing thing. And that was my original argument. But now I'm going to turn this around a little bit because your comment brought something out. What happens? You brought out the beast in me. What happens if you announce all of these deaths and whatnot? Well, exactly what's happening now is what happens is that it just becomes some little trinket thing. Oh, well, I'm going to kill a character too, and I'm going to kill a character, and I'm going to kill a character. And it's like, dude, at some point, who really cares?
Well, this is a straw man's argument. I'm no way defending deaths or using deaths as key issues argument. I'm just saying first appearance.
I'm glad you learned my straw man technique thing from our earlier conversation. But no, using it properly, no. I'm making the argument based on what you'd originally said, where, oh, you should put this out because of sales. But the problem is that when sales and speculate, first off, it's intermingled. Like this is a universal beast. This is not some separate entity. It's like a symbiote in some ways. Speculation only works when it's not that big of a deal and there's not a huge supply. So if you're going to look at this from the speculators angle, speculators are going to be angry at you for suggesting that, oh, you announce this stuff in advance, you make it into a really big deal. No, speculators want to have that insider information. I read James Tinian the Fourth's thing. These common scrubs who aren't reading these things, they're not going to know. So I'm going to be able to go out and I'm going to be able to go to all these individual comic book stores and get them all. And I'm going to have all these and I'm going to hold them for a little while and be like, and I'm going to slowly sell them over time. But
they can still do that.
But if it gets announced,
yes, and it's public and average Joe gets to. Now, if I want a Punchline comic, and he tells me 3 months in advance, I'll tell my LCS, pull it in my pull list. I win.
Then what happens?
And the speculators will still get them, and they'll still wait years. And all the new comic fans, if they exist, will get their comics.
The way that it works,
but it should.
Why it should?
So that new fans will have access to these books because these speculators hoarded them, and you can't get them from DC and Marvel anymore. But now that these speculators knew that these were key issues, there's so many more of them. I can get it as a new fan.
I think
but you know who else gets these books? The people who already had them in their pull lists. The people who all of a sudden find this out. If it's not a cloak and dagger routine anymore, like you got to understand what speculation actually is. It's having that insider trading ability. You only tell your closest friend, hey, I'm just saying you should definitely go out and get this comic book because just trust me, go and get it. So you go out and you get one comic book and I got 5. Hey, you got your comic book, but I got 5, 10, whatever. But when you go and make it a press release and it's a big deal and everybody knows about it, then all of a sudden all these people are going in. And then when you put this in your pull list and everybody else is putting this in their pull list just for that one issue, that's when all of a sudden the comic book retailers are like, okay, well, we've got to put in to order this many. So when they're printing out their first copies at DC, they're saying, oh, well, we got to print extras because all these people put in the pre-orders. And you see these guys on Twitter and whatnot, the writers and artists saying, hey, put in your pre-order now. Today's the last day for the pre-order, you know what I'm saying, to guarantee your copy. So they're just going to print a whole lot of these. And then the book is simply not worth that much. The first appearance of Wolverine, whatever you consider it to be, 180, 181, whatever, is only worth as much as it is because, and on average, the price was going for like anywhere from $700 American to, whatever. Maybe it's less now, I don't know. But in general, that's what you got. But now, how much do you think Action Comics issue number 15 would be?
I'm not even sure what happens in 15. Lois Lane?
At the end of actually, I don't know if anything happens special in that. But the idea is,
I'm actually looking it up because I'm like, wait a minute, did something happen?
There are so fewer of those comic books in existence. Issue number 50, or God forbid, a single digit, but a double digit issue, even if it's issue number 99 of Action Comics. So few people have those. I promise you, it's probably worth as much. As and maybe I'm completely wrong, and speculators are going to be like, dude, this guy's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But the principle, the theory is the same. Less of a specific comic book that nobody can get their hands on nowadays is worth just as much as a comic because something happened in Action Comics number 50. And I totally randomly put this up, and everybody's like, well, what did happen in this? But the idea is
Ernie's still checking.
Are you still checking, Ernie?
I'm looking at it right now. Apparently, it's Superman on the High Seas.
Oh, Aquaman, maybe.
Yeah.
The first crossover.
Actually, no. Like the only characters in this are like Superman, Lois Lane for like a cameo.
I called it.
Single appearance by Big Boy Cheney, Cheney's Men, Machete, Muggsy, other characters, Mr. Holloway, Warren Kenyon.
So if all of a sudden
Earth 2.
Let's use Wolverine as the example, though. Let's say that there were twice as many Wolverine first appearances. Instead of selling for $700, these speculators would have to sell it twice as much. So $350. Is that fair? Let's just say that. That's still a lot of money. That's still a huge profit.
So you go to Mr. Mike Bloomberg and say, listen, you're worth almost $65 million. How about we take half of that and you're only worth $30 billion? Look, man, you can't spend that in a day. You can't spend that in the rest of your probably very short lifetime with 2 heart stints. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's still $30 billion. He's going to say, no, I'd rather spend that $30 billion to have you and your family destroyed.
Is he greedy and is he wrong? That's what I'm trying to hurt. I'm not in favor of the speculator. I'm in favor of the customer of the speculator. And the speculator will still make his profit. It'll just make half as much because there's twice as many Batman 89s.
So now let's bring this into an actual science. When you're going to no, seriously, like actual physics. Let's use particle physics, for example.
If that's how you're gonna get me? Okay.
Well, no. This is what
you gotta get molecular, huh?
Because particle physics, very specifically, is where you come into the line of philosophy. So now I'm going to actually let you think about this, and hopefully you can't answer this right away. Hopefully you actually do really think about this. When you observe something, that's when you change something. Everything happens as it's meant to be until you observe something. Check this out. In order to observe, let's say, a Higgs boson, to actually determine the Higgs boson if it actually works, you have to actually be able to check out a particle. In order to be able to check out this light particle that's rapidly going around the Large Hadron Collider, which actually isn't that large technically compared to what we wanted to make it at Texas, but people want to know if I can, see God. So anyway, this Large Hadron Collider, you got this one particle flying around, and you've calculated exactly where this particle is going to be at every nanosecond. So then how do you actually prove that that particle is there? You have to bounce another particle off of that particle. And then, and if you get a rebound, that particle was exactly where I meant to be. But the problem is, what happens to that particle that you hit? You veer it off course.
Yeah.
So the process of seeing the thing diverts the thing. So the next particle that you do, somehow your calculation might be off. What are you going to do? Check to see if that one's there also? Continually looking inside of Schrodinger's box changes what you do and don't know, and changes the inevitable outcome afterwards. So keep on trying to think that you can manipulate this and that and still appease the speculator, because I'm only in the comic books for the speculation because I can make money off of it. I'm only in the comic books because I'm going to sell them because I'm a retailer. I'm only in it because I love the story. I'm only in it because of this. But when you change one thing, you inevitably change everything. What happens if people turn around and they just start, in DC, and they just start saying, you know what? Let's put a first appearance in every single comic book out there.
That
Suddenly
wouldn't
it completely
fly.
takes away. No, it wouldn't. But you just potentially made this alternate universe from the 616 Divergent, and who knows what you've just done now, because you changed what we see.
All right. I still think everything I said stands, and the death of Superman argument of it being invaluable it's a different time, because there were much more, like a normal book back then would have been 40,000 sales. I'm just guessing. Now a normal book, you'd be like, 20,000 sales. That's pretty good. There's just so much more comics back then that's why maybe they can still sell for about 5.
So many less comic books back then.
There's so many more less comic books that they're always going to be more valuable. And the whole science class I just sat through didn't. All right. I mean, you're entitled. Viewers or listeners, what do you think? Who do you side with? Should they?
Well, I think that when people can get more for the first appearance of Lobo than they can for the death of Superman, that probably makes people consider,
And a death is not a first appearance, but okay.
But what about the first appearance of Doomsday?
Oh yeah, it was the first appearance of Doomsday, wasn't it? Yeah.
Not in the death of Superman. It was actually several issues earlier. But yeah.
Okay, that I'll fight for that one. That's the one I'll. And does that one sell for only $5 or $10, or is that one rare?
Up here, I think it sells for around 20 to 45. Depends on the condition that you get it in.
And the cover price is like $1 or $2.
Yeah, like $2, I think, whatever. $1.99. So, I mean, at the end of the day, like you literally have to think about it. But what if they were to announce I don't know. Like, what if what if Kelly Thompson were to announce, "Hey, here's a brand new character." You know what I'm saying? What if everybody would just announce, and what if all of a sudden the comic books just change, where they're just like, this is just I'm on repeat at this point. When you change one thing, when you try to manipulate, let's say a stock price, you inevitably manipulate everything else. At least there's the potential that you could, and you don't get to put the cat back in the bag. It doesn't work that way. So you really don't want storylines to start suffering, because it's like, okay, mandatory. You remember how we were arguing? Oh, I hate the idea that you've got 6 issues for every single story arc, because then what if I don't have 6 issues of a story to tell? But that's what's got to fit in a trade paperback, and so on and so forth. And I hate that idea. And you agree with me on that idea.
Yeah.
What about if all of a sudden you introduce, okay, listen, every story arc, there's got to be a first appearance, a cameo, and a first appearance, and an origin story. All 3 of those are going to be, and a reveal, maybe, let's say. You've got to have all of these in every single arc that you do.
That would negatively affect my comic reading experience.
There you go.
Well, that's 2 wrongs not making a right. I don't like trade paperbacks, and I don't like the quota of you got to have a first appearance and all these imaginary things you just brought up. I can dislike both.
But like, if people start seeing at DC or Marvel, they start saying, "Hey, you know what?" I mean, think of what happened to the comic book industry when Ms. Marvel came out. Kamala Khan came out. Kamala Khan, this was a great idea, and there were already some misogynists who were going to say stupid, and racists who were going to say some stupid things. Screw those people. But when all of a sudden Thor also wound up becoming going to Jane Foster, and we didn't know who it was, and his big mystery. It's like, oh, okay, cool, they're changing things. And then every single other character at Marvel in the same month, actually it was like the same 3 to 5 month time span. Look at what happened when you tried to forcibly, generically change the status quo. It ruined everything. They tried to fix it with the all new, all different. It didn't work. Axel Alonso, bye. He's in AWA comic books right now. I get press releases from these guys. So I mean, like, dude, like you genuinely change everything when you do that.
Now, I think new comic book characters are great. I don't think the legacy, and Blerd, you might disagree with me because you're kind of pro. Blerd recognizes, and I'll let you speak for yourself, but you recognize that these fans who buy comics don't like new. They want what they're familiar with. So another Hulk, another Iron Man, another Cap, another Thor. It's easier for them to accept another Wolverine.
It's not even the idea that they don't want to buy a new comic book. If you introduce a new character in a new comic book, it's harder to do that. Maybe if you were to introduce the character someplace else, like in a pre-established one. But then again, you still have to follow certain rules. It can't be a character like Riri Williams where it's like, oh, she just stole things. She's going to be stealing the name and everything's going to be stolen. And, I don't know how I made that noise.
She's a thug.
People said she's a thug.
That diversity in comics guy, he had a video basically, I think it was titled Riri Williams is a thug.
Okay, so this is also a term that is used for black people who look like criminals and whatnot, which is...
It's code.
It is undeniably code. People like to say that, okay, what's the term that they use? For crying out loud. Virtue signaling.
Virtue.
People talk about
whistling, all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, that's one thing, but people talk about virtue signaling on the left when it's like, yes, you're black and I'm. What do they call it when you're an ally? It's like I'm an ally. You don't get to choose if you're an ally. Each individual black person gets to choose if you're an ally. That's actually the way it works.
It's in the handbook.
It's in the freaking handbook. It's just,
we've had a meeting about it.
It's called common sense.
But
at the end of the day, it's like, what do you call it? That's virtue signaling on the left. Virtue signaling on the right is saying things like, oh yeah, what was that one guy? The one guy in Florida. We can't be monkeying around with this thing. It's like, you just brought up Monkey when you're talking about a black rival,
Mm-hmm.
and you're known to have white supremacist ties. Interesting. And then he did it again with something else. I don't remember what it was, but
was it Martin Luther King? I'm sorry, King Jr. You never heard that one? Well, it's common
I heard it.
in the
I
South.
literally just saw it for the first time in a while the other day, and I was like,
Well,
wow, I forgot.
They'll say Martin Luther Coon rather than saying Martin Luther King, and it's just so natural for them to insult the.
Wow.
Yeah, it comes out in live TV.
And he literally, I think, before in the same breath, had literally just said he wasn't racist. Or it was something along those lines.
Yeah, that's a part of the code, because as long as you say it, it's like, he says he's not racist. Okay, cool.
But he's like, he's like, I'm not racist. I mean, if they want to have a Dr. Martin Luther, and then I'm like, whoa, wow, that rolled right off the tongue.
There's another guy who's a weatherman who said it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Instead, he said Martin Luther Coon, and I'm like, listen, he tried to defend himself by saying, when you say King and Junior really quickly, you might mistakenly say it. And at the time, I was like, okay, that's very valid. That's, you know what? I can, because it's not like the Los Angeles Lakers.
Oh, you're talking about, those, the Nakers?
Yeah, is what she said when she did it.
Yeah, no, I heard something different.
But because I was so naive, I actually kind of believed that one. But when I found out it's very common to say Martin Luther Coon, then it's like, okay, well, you don't get benefit of the doubt for that one.
Nah.
Why were we talking about this? We were talking about something comic related.
We were talking about him calling Riri a thug.
Like, just new characters.
That is virtue signaling. I have a hard time. Yeah, on their side. And I genuinely believe that that's just some straight up racist crap right there. Then there's going to be people who are going to say, oh, that's just ridiculous. You would say, that's really cool. I really don't care. You have your opinion, I have mine.
I actually said something about it on the video. Like, it was actually one of the few times I ever actually commented on a video of that type.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember a lot of people were like, oh, you can't say that about him. He has, they're like I think they tried to, like, someone tried to defend him and say, oh, his girlfriend or wife is black or something like that. Or they try to say, oh, he has a half black kids or something like that. And I was like, I don't know where y'all come from, but
and they divorced him too.
Yeah,
which I wonder what some of the reasons could be. Listen, let's just look at it this way: if a man is a sexist and then he gets married to a woman, is he no longer a sexist?
Well, and I even like to point out, like, back during slavery, it was not uncommon for white slave owners to have sex with the slaves they kept.
But he married her. Okay, cool. So sometimes men will marry and say, this is my woman. I've claimed her. Stay away from my woman. Hey, you're mine. Don't go and talk. So, like, at the end of the day, none of that nonsense means anything.
I don't even
anything.
Sorry,
when the word of all the words that you could have used to describe Riri Williams, one of them happens to be thug. It just, it says something. It's like, you don't describe anybody else like that, but you choose to describe a black person as that. I'm gonna have to go with the idea that, and meanwhile, this is the guy who says women don't like, little girls don't like tough guy things, but they like dresses and they like ponies and they like dolls. And it's like, dude, do you really think you can just put an entire group of people in one thing? I think only racists do that. I think only racists make vast oversimplifications of generalizations like that. It was just me.
Honestly, he's a trash tier.
Who is not worth the time on this podcast. So new characters are better, like static, like the Deadpools, like when they come out individually. And I've mentioned this either on my YouTube channel, Chillmonger, or like when I'm talking to you, Professor Bill, that when Strange Academy comes out and there's a bunch of new characters all in a team, the significance or the likelihood of them, any of them being someone character who's going to carry on the same way Kamala Khan did, is divided by 6. When you give me one single new character, no, you disagree with that?
I disagree with that.
Well, I think giving me a bunch of new characters in one, less to focus on.
I think it depends on the team.
No,
this is kind of what you're saying about value when it comes to
I'm going to disagree.
Comic books that are key issues.
You ever play Dungeons and Dragons?
No.
Okay, so Ernie, what are the two when you use a D20? What are the two numbers that you most look at? The two most important numbers on there, the best one and the worst one.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be 1 and 20.
Yeah, but there's still another 18 numbers on there. But it's like, who cares? But you really don't want a 1, and you really like the 20.
But I will settle for an 18 or 19, depending on what.
I'll settle for an 18, 19, depending on the AC of the thing that I'm trying to, whoop the ass of. But the idea is, like, if you're Scotty Young, who's writing the Strange Academy thing, already said that the big focus is going to be on Dormammu's son or whatever that guy's supposed to be. Oh,
that's good. Good for him. Well,
yeah, something Donnie Dormammu or something like that, whatever. So like he's going to be putting the foot, like that's the character who's going to shine in this.
Still, though, it is a legacy character, but all right.
Oh God, you're right. But anyway, so it's just the idea, like, okay, so you got all these other characters. Maybe somebody's, one of them is going to take off and blah, 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 whatever. But you're putting you're putting that emphasis on this particular character. That's the one you're really going to be focusing on. So you're just creating a whole bunch of other characters who could potentially die. Well,
that's good to hear that he's got one guy in mind. I wish it wasn't I wish it was the Asgardian or somebody who's just not the son of another person. The one with the pumpkin head. What's his story?
Really? So yeah, right. But realistically, so when we look at wrestlers, don't we always pay that extra attention? Like, holy crap, Bray Wyatt is Barry Windham's son?
Okay, wrestlers age and are moved out of the picture, and you can't have them back. When Batman is still around, I don't want to.
Sorry, unless you die, if you're from the Attitude Era or the Rock and Wrestling Era, if you're still alive, you are still in the wrestling picture to this day. How many times do we still see Ricky Steamboat? And it's like, dude, most of his adventures have been in the freaking WCW, but somehow we still see Ricky Steamboat showing up every single opportunity. Oh, hey. And he's got like no energy anymore. He's just like,
hey. The Raw anniversary. What was it? I forget. One of the big Raws that was last year. I remember seeing him. He was just there randomly for no reason.
Just randomly there. Just, hey, what's going on? I'm getting a paycheck. How you doing? Dude, they would still be reeling out Classy Freddie Blassie if he was alive. I'm surprised they don't have a wax figure of him and they roll him out on a freaking, like they pulled him out. Remember the one time it was like the Attitude Era? No, not the Attitude, whatever it was, the invasion angle, and they just had him stand. They had him stand. That was the big. He stood up. We can win. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you writing? What are you writing?
Yeah, that's just it. No one was writing. So, that was the problem.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, like, I hear what you're saying, but I'm seeing so many real life arguments where that simply doesn't work. Good.
I mean, I think that as far as like, new characters. Bringing in new characters, I think that honestly, when it comes down to it, whenever you have an opportunity, try and make something new. Try and wow the crowd with something new that they haven't seen before. Your readers with something they haven't seen before. Yeah, whether it's, the idea of a comic with a bunch, like an ensemble cast of characters, is it gonna be like as much of a draw like for collectors as say maybe a comic that's only got like one person in it? I mean, I don't know. I think that part just depends on the team. Like if you're talking about like New Mutants #1 versus whatever this is coming out, is it going to be the same thing? Are people going to care? Whatever. Who knows? But for me as a person who is just a guy who just reads, I don't really collect. I just want a good, solid story, and if something is particularly special about that issue, and I happen to notice it, it's all the better. If not, I will go on about my day Drinking my tangerine Kool-Aid. And
Green Kool-Aid.
yeah, I will be none the wiser because I don't have space in my house anymore for comics. So yeah, that's my take on it. I've just kind of largely watched and done the ping pong back and forward between y'all because I thought it was very entertaining to me.
That's what we do. Yeah, I don't know, man. I literally look at it as just changing the way that comics are produced based on, well, let's see if we can just generate the maximum sales. I think that the idea is to just keep trying to make good stories and let it go back to the writers being in charge, not the editors, not the publishers, not, so on and so forth, where it's just like, oh, we've got a specific agenda.
Yeah.
We should just consider, the writers and the artists as well. Say back in the day, like of Jack Kirby, the artists were actually the ones who were the storytellers. The writers were just people who filled in the blanks. The artists were the ones who were like, okay, now I'm going to draw this guy doing this. I'm going to draw this guy doing this. You know what? I think I'm going to draw the guy doing this and stuff like that. And then the writers came along and like looked at the little notes on the side. We're like, oh, well, let me fill in speech bubbles here where he'll say this and this and this to actually get the story moving along. That's how it used to be done back in the day.
Well, you could do that if
that's how we got the Cyclops Wolverine Jean thing.
Yeah.
I think if the action is the main selling point, if you're trying to sell the story on action, sure, comic book artists write it and then have everyone, draw it and have the writer come in and write but what they're trying to do now in comics is these convoluted, sometimes they're great, but there's these moral complexes that sometimes are great. Like Civil War was great. Civil War 2 I think was good, but others think it's not great.
I think just because, I think Civil War 2 because, it was way easier to pick which side you didn't want to be on. In a sense of, not for, let's say for everybody, but I know for a lot of people, they were like, oh, well, I automatically don't like this side.
Wait, which one was easier to pick? Which one you don't want to be on?
Civil War 2.
Really?
Interesting.
I think largely, I'm a huge Captain Marvel fan, but the thing is,
Killmonger's eating popcorn for this one because now you and me are going to go at it.
Go at it.
Well, no, just because, I think a lot of people. I'm not saying that it was easier for me to pick a side. Just that a lot of people I talk to that you've read, they always have this mentality that Civil War 2 made me hate Captain Marvel, or Civil War 2 made me hate Carol Danvers because she was being bullheaded and even though she was told that something wasn't the way she thought it was, she did it anyway. And it's just like,
first of all, she was told by the opposing party, and the opposing party was actually wrong.
Well, yeah, no, they were wrong.
Totally wrong. And at the end of the day, this guy who's like, oh, I think he's only going to be right 10% of the time, wound up becoming a cosmic entity at the behest of eternity. So I don't know if they would do a 10%, on that. This became a cosmic entity, this guy. So, I hear people saying, oh, it was so much easier to choose. But I'm going to say that people just simply, they looked at it was so much easier to choose because, there was a woman on this particular side. Because Carol Danvers was one written completely out of character.
Well, that was my only problem.
That was something that you just said, but there's that. But I mean, I'm sorry, does anybody actually think that Tony Stark was right in the things that he did?
No.
He went and he kidnapped a sovereign of the Inhumans. Kidnapping. Do we really think that's a good idea? He attacked Carol Danvers with a Hulkbuster. She killed him. The mother fathead came at her with a Hulkbuster. And honestly, I'm surprised he didn't have a Carol Buster someplace in there because the guy, there's Batman who's got a contingency plan against all the other guys. And then there's Tony Stark who actively builds armors against all of his friends. I'm sorry. Does he have a Dr. Doom Buster?
Well, here's the thing I found interesting about his Hulkbuster is that if I remember correctly, wasn't in the same color scheme as War Machine, the one that he went after her with.
I think you're right, and isn't that just messed up?
Because at the time,
She just lost her boyfriend, the man
Yeah.
she loves. Wow.
Like
Oh, one man did some messed up stuff.
that was really my only gripe with Civil War II is like I just felt that Carol was not. I felt like the writing did not serve her as well as it could have. I felt like she wasn't
Absolutely.
written the way that I always know people who say, "Well, I felt they didn't write my character correctly." Like, sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. But this case, I was kind of like, "Yeah, I kind
They
of can make
really
it."
went out of the way to try and find things to make you hate each person, as opposed to the very generic way that they did it with the very organic way, I should say, excuse me, with Civil War One. With Civil War One, I found it was the easiest thing in the world to side with Captain America. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody looked at it as Captain America may be being bullheaded in this, but when push comes to shove, Tony
Mm,
Stark is the fascist authoritarian in this
mm,
particular case. This shouldn't be that hard.
Mhm.
What did Captain America do that caused problems in the universe or in the Marvel universe that weren't directly implemented by Tony Stark?
mm.
Meanwhile, what were the things that Tony Stark did that Captain America and his team had nothing to do with, but they still went completely wrong? So when push comes to shove, Tony Stark was undeniably the bad person in there. Meanwhile, which one is worse, Tony Stark or Carol Danvers in Civil War II? I thought that was the
Yeah,
hardest to find a clip because they were both wrong.
they were very wrong. Like,
Wait. Carol's right for a guy who can predict things and then getting on top of it and acting on prediction. She was wrong by arresting the people before they did it, like what happened in Ms. Marvel's comic. That was wrong of her.
okay, yeah, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, I felt like there were certain actions that were put into place that I felt like Carol, even in the situation that she was in. Now, granted, yeah, she was a woman who was grieving. She literally watched her boyfriend and her best friend, like, one killed, the other one put in a coma. And it's just like,
Wait, which best friend was it? Because
well,
apparently she's got like
She-Hulk,
three.
good friend, She-Hulk.
All right.
She-Hulk got put in a coma.
Not Jessica Jones.
No, not her.
Nothing happened to her.
Neither
Or
her
Jessica
nor
Drew.
Jessica.
No, but he said best friend, and nowadays
a
that's
best friend. I'll say, or I'd rather say a close friend.
Come
A
on,
close-
like you knew that it happened to She-Hulk, right?
yeah. Oh yeah. It's She-Hulk.
Killmonger?
I was just saying
Okay,
that
then,
because
come
I
on,
saw
like,
your
You're literally
review.
arguing over nothing.
No, I mentioned it as a joke because in your review, star number 1, I think it was Jessica Jones who called herself the best friend of Carol, and yeah, that's why I said that. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, no.
Unbelievable! This freaking
But
guy.
it just
You're going way back to that. So yeah, wow. First off, I do want to address the idea of the arrest. That's something that I think is important because what kind of arrest was this? Did the person actually get a criminal record, get booked, and get, processed and put into the system and things like that? No.
No.
By arrest, it's more like, listen, I'm going to take you into custody for a little while so we can keep an eye on you and just try and debrief you and blah, 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 and whatever. But the word arrest was used. Meanwhile, when Tony Stark was arresting people back in Civil War I, you were shrank and put in the negative zone in the vault with criminals. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me right now?
and then the criminals, and because of the Superhero Registration Act, didn't a lot of those criminals know?
And the criminals were actually the ones that were sent to detain the heroes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. The most clear and evident villain in any comic book history ever was Tony Stark, and he was not even written out of character to do that. I'm sorry. The guy who was actively trying to kill his past self from another universe because how would you try to replace me just because I'm acting crazy? Like, this is so in line with Tony Stark. You know what I'm saying? So
I also want to point out that in the Civil War edition of Marvel Legendary, authoritarian Iron Man is a mastermind. I just want to point that out. He is a villain that you have to fight in the Civil War expansion of Marvel Legendary. I just wanted to put that on the table.
That's funny.
What's
Marvel Legendary?
It is a deck building game.
Okay, I
Uh,
know the one you're talking about. Oh wow.
yeah.
Okay, go figure.
But
Interesting.
authoritarian Iron Man, he's a bastard. as
He is
I
a
often joke that
beast.
Tony Stark is one of the greatest villains in the
Yeah.
in Marvel comics.
That's too funny that we have a very similar mindset. I love Tony Stark's imperfections. Like when you think about who and what Tony Stark is, for the love of God, you've got this character who, when the Red Skull was as evil as gets, and then turns around during the Axis and becomes the goodest character, the most good character possible. You look at Sabretooth and like this murderous guy and Cletus Cassidy and like Doctor Doom and all these different people. But what happened to Tony Stark? He didn't really change too much
Yeah.
because he's already right there on that fine cusp. Like
Yeah.
he's just a heartbeat away from being a villain in the first place. So when he crossed the
Oh,
line, it really wasn't that big of a difference for him.
he was a villain. He was a war profiteer.
Just kind of
Oh
just
yeah,
went
exactly. Yeah, from his inception, he was supposed to be that. I forget his name. The idea is that um, Stan Lee said when I created the concept for, because a lot of people had a hand. There was like 3 other people involved in creating the Iron Man character. He's like, but when I thought up the individual aspects of the personality and background of Tony Stark, I wanted him to be, there he is, the Howard Hughes, the Howard Hughes character, who's a guy who is very polarizing. And that's exactly what we did. It's like, this guy is not a hero. Um, Bob Layfield, who I still talk with once in a while. He did Demon in a Bottle and Armor Wars and all the and Doom and Camelot, all these amazing, storylines, the best storylines for Tony Stark. He's like, Tony Stark is not a hero. Whoever said Tony Stark was a hero? Like anybody who sits there and says, how is Tony Stark not a hero? How about because the people who are best known for writing him have all said, how is he a hero? You know what I'm saying? So there's that.
I think people have an idea. I think people have an idealized, same way I feel about Professor X. I feel people have an idealized version of Iron Man in their head because of the MCU.
100%.
He loves us 3,000.
Because there's a lot of people who didn't really know, and certainly a lot of people never cared about Tony Stark until Robert Downey Jr. Like those two are indelibly connected. And I always go back to the comic books. Hey, the movies are great, but I'm a comic book guy.
Yeah.
The TV series are great. I go back to the comic books. Hey, there's a video game. Yeah, I'm a comic book guy. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always referring to, unless I say otherwise, my default is the comic books. And Tony Stark is not a villain. You want to talk about Professor X? You mean the guy who recruited child soldiers?
Oh god.
Oh yeah,
and
actually
brainwashed these guys.
Do you ever want to see, if you ever want to witness a more icy glare, is when I was talking to Chris Claremont and I brought that up. I just child soldiers. He just kind of looked at me and was just like, wow. I was like, I'm going to shut up and let this man talk.
Wow.
Well, he'd never recruited child soldiers. He found mutants who the X gene ignited in them during adolescence, not childhood, adolescence. You're probably yelling they were under 18. Okay, under your criteria of what a child is, they were under 18. But then he brought them to their school where trouble found them. But in no time did he say, you're going to learn how to be an assassin. You'll learn to defend yourself. If we're calling them child soldiers, then you're using a lot of...
were these guys in danger before that?
Were they in danger before that? Wasn't Emma Frost trying to recruit Kitty Pryde? That's the first one I think of.
Whoa. We're going back to the original issue number 1 of the X-Men with the original 5. There was no Emma Frost back then.
Okay. So Cyclops, he had a big accident in his school, right? Where because that's how it happened in the movies. I didn't read the actual comic.
Okay, in the actual comic book, he fell out of a plane with his brother, and he used his optic blast to protect him and his brother to cushion his blow. That's the first time he actually used it. He used it to cushion his blow.
And he had nowhere to go, and Professor X took him in and helped.
And he was always, blinded. Yeah. Oh, so he found this crippled kid. At the end of the day, let's be realistic. This is a kid. He might as well be recruiting from the circus, for the circus. It's like, oh, look, the Elephant Man.
Wait, was Professor X wrong?
100%.
They were hated and feared. They would grow up.
Were they? Were they really? Warren Worthington III, who comes from more money than you and I could possibly imagine, he took him into this broke-ass school talking about, hey, you're hunted and feared.
But he
I
was.
don't know about all that.
'Cause
He was?
every comic book has depicted the X-Men as
Who was the
hated
first
and feared.
villain? Who was the first villain that they fought in issue number
Magneto.
1? Yeah. Huh.
Well,
And they
he
kept on
used.
fighting other mutants. You know what this sounds like to me? It sounds like the Russia-USA proxy war. That's what it sounds like to me. Magneto and Professor X had a beef, and they recruited a bunch of other people to fight their wars for them.
All right, yeah, I'm with you.
I mean, the thing for me is that always like, yeah, Professor X, he was always perving on Jean.
He was perving on Jean back then.
Matter of fact, I don't remember what it was, but I have the panels laying around somewhere because I actually used it as a receipt to prove a point about Charles Xavier once in a video. But it was an excerpt where he was thinking in his head.
Yeah. How could she ever fall for me? I'm so old and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yes, he was. And the thing is, not only that, he treated Storm like a second-class citizen. The second he got functioning legs in Secret Wars, he immediately stripped her of her team leadership. And he took over as team leader and then basically kind of, in no uncertain terms, basically told her that, yeah, you're not leading the team anymore. I'm the boss. And even after that, kind of treated her as a bit of an object. Like not like not necessarily like objectifying or like or any kind of sexual way, but just like you're just a weapon. Yeah. Like that's basically how he treated her. And I forget exactly what it was, but anytime Kitty calls someone a jerk, I would like to believe it's for a good reason.
Yeah, Professor X is a jerk. At the end of the day, you think about it, man. Like you think about it.
They think of Patrick Stewart. They think, oh,
yes,
Professor X is so sweet. It's like, no, he was. There, I mean, yeah, there was a reason why characters like Wolverine used to give Xavier a hard time. Because he was an asshole. He was a jerk. And I think a lot of times it's like I think people make the mistake of misremembering how he was depicted, thinking that he was this character that didn't come along until much later in the movies. And even now, with a lot of stuff that's going on now, like a lot of people are like, oh, this is Xavier. He's just acting out of character. Like, no, this sounds about right for Xavier.
This is 100% correct. Thunderbird did not like Professor X, and Wolverine didn't like Professor X. Thunderbird was a Marine who had his own mind and knows what actual not authoritarian, but authority figures and actual discipline is like. And Professor X did not provide that. He's also a Native American who suffered a lot of racism discrimination. So even though he was fairly young, he wasn't that damn young, and he understood something about the world, and that's what the war will actually do to you. Wolverine was much older than the rest of the new X-Men. All the other ones were really young for the most part. So they, oh, Professor X, you're a really good person. Yeah, you're really good with kids. But as far as the adults, they see through your crap.
Which is why they always rebelled against him.
So if Chris Claremont was writing some of these stories, what was his reaction like that for? Is he like agreeing with you? Like,
no. I asked him. I actually one of the questions I asked him was, how do you feel about characters like Xavier and like how he treated characters like Jean? Or I would ask I asked him what was his feelings of what was his thoughts about Cyclops and being a philandering husband. And neither one of those questions got me a pleasant look afterward.
Well, because that wasn't done by Claremont.
No. I was asking him what he thought about it.
Okay, I think that was actually Louise Simonson who did that.
Yeah, because that was like the whole like Madeline Pryor
Yeah.
and
That was an issue number 1 of X Factor. Those first 3 issues, I believe, were written by Louis Simonson.
Yeah, no, I was just asking. I just wanted to know what he thought about it. It was like, oh, well, I'm just gonna leave that alone. That's apparently a sore subject. but no, I think stuff like that is just like, you know, I always find stuff like that kind of interesting, just because, you know, we have these you have these characters that, you know, have had over, God, 60, 70, you know, in some cases 80, 100, maybe almost 100 some odd, 75 years in cases of some, you know, years worth of history. And it's just like, wow, like there's a lot to go back on. Like, you go back and look at a lot of it, it's like, some of it's not as pristine as you know, we originally remember it. And I remember when I reread Secret Wars, I was like, wow, they just casually slap women in this comic. That's
Is that a product of its time? Was that how we used to treat women back then?
Yeah.
In the mid to early 80s?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I mean, just there was a point, I think Wasp gets casually slapped at least twice.
By Magneto, right?
I think by Magneto and maybe somebody else. And maybe Magneto both times, but it's like, I think someone else does it too. And it's like, I don't know, it's weird. But it's just, I don't know, like there were oh no, I remember what it is. Fantastic Four, when Black Panther first appears. Ben has some really slick casual racism that pops up.
Yeah.
And I remember reading, I was like, wow, wow. I was like, Ben's racist. Well, that's not very fantastic of him.
Like, he's making all those Tarzan jokes and like, why should I care? I've already seen this. He keeps on interrupting him. I think I did a spotlight on Story on the first appearance of the first and second appearance of Black Panther, because I remember explaining to people about that, like how he's interrupting the story with comments that just you're literally stopping the story right now. You know, you're only here to, I guess, remind us that the story, you know, that this is just a flashback story and this isn't what's currently happening. But dude, you're literally just breaking it up with this nonsense. And yeah,
and what he's
not
saying,
a good look.
Very rude. Like on top of what he's doing, like interrupting being rude, but just what he's saying is also very rude and inappropriate, and just not okay things to say to someone who is a man who is you know, for all intents and purposes, you know, African, even though technically, you know, more Wakanda, it's Wakanda, a fictionalized you know, part of Africa. It's still no less offensive.
I remember reading, I think Reginald Hudlin was writing him, or it could have been Hickman. Whenever they did that crossover, he called him to Charlie, and then Black Panther like called him out on it and said, well, he said something, and I can't remember what it was exactly, but he didn't give the Thing the answer that he wanted, and told him, I didn't answer the question you asked for because you called me to Charlie. I will treat you properly when you treat me properly. Something like that.
This is fair.
So knowing the history of it, now that helps. Maybe I'll read it again with that context.
I mean, like I said, it's also going back and reading old comics is why I have the opinion I have of certain characters. Like I have very, I don't want to say negative or low opinions, but I don't have great opinions of a lot of beloved characters. Because I don't know, it just depends on where they come from, like, you know, or what were their origins, because that's the stuff that's going to stick with me more than anything else. I mean, I like to take a character on, you know, what they're currently doing, but yeah, whatever their origins are, I mean, I'm always going to kind of remember that. And if they're still doing some of the same things, I'm just going to kind of be like, wow, it's all a lot of the stuff you won't see characters doing nowadays. But you know, you don't really see Thing being as casually racist anymore.
Yeah.
But it's like it's kind of like that was one of the reasons why I liked the earlier renditions of Carol Danvers back in the day, because I was like, wow, she's fairly consistent as a character. I mean, outside of that weird thing with
the pregnancy and Avengers issue 100, was it 200?
I think it was 200.
Yeah, and just like, no, those things didn't happen. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, no, I don't know why I remember it.
I know why.
I feel like
dream.
I feel like it came from an alternate timeline that has been erased and only I remember.
Those were memories that the aliens put inside of you when they probed you.
Yeah, that's what it was. and that also explains why my butthole is so sore.
There's going to be a Eric Cartman moment where a giant satellite just appears out of your butt. Satellite dish, excuse me.
God. Oh my goodness, what is wrong with us? It's probably everything. Probably everything. That's okay. It's okay.
So, Chillmonger, you got anything else?
2 hours and 39 minutes in, I have nothing else, friend.
You seriously don't have anything else?
I mean, I'm sure I could think of something new.
Oh, no.
Let's
Did you
leave it
have
there.
anything else prepared?
No, I'll save it for next week.
Oh, geez, here we go. All right, cool. Okay. 2 hours and 40 minutes of a podcast, but we had like an extra third. Actually, technically 150% of our typical routine, like, just showed up. Boom, hey! So I can't argue. Blerd, it was great having you on here. The discussion seriously got enhanced a lot.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, but of course. We're probably going to recruit you. So
it's like part of the family.
It didn't take too long to get you in the van. The trick is you can't get out. We're like a rock motel.
They just slam the trunk door down. Got him.
But there's all the candy that you want. It's like the gingerbread house.
Can it be like Undertaker, where he's like he looks like he rolls down the window of the car. He's like, "Hello,
get in, Teddy."
or whatever.
I was thinking, buckle up, Teddy.
Oh. Oh man,
I'm thinking more of the Phantasm movies. The tall man.
Oh God.
No, it's never over. Angus Scrimm, rest in peace.
Oh,
okay,
man.
So let's get out of here and talk to you guys later. So see you guys next week for another podcast. Check out all of our channels because they're important. So check out Chillmonger on YouTube. Check out Ernie at Blerd Without Fear. Check out Professor Bill. You know where to find me. All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and crew. Class dismissed.
Class dismissed.
Dismissed.